students prefer to volunteer and help in the fight against COVID-19, they'll be eligible for a $1,000 to $5,000 grant through the new Canada Student Service Grant. Pour ce qui est des petites entreprises, on a annoncé hier. With regards to small businesses, we announced yesterday.
Hey, dead sucker! I'm gonna phone shut your goddamn mouth, pussy hooligan! Shut up! Shut up! They muted his fucking microphone! They muted his microphone! I don't want to hear some pussy telling me what he might have said. I didn't go through all this to hear what some other guy said. What the fuck? Do you hear the minister? I don't hear nothing from his feed. I hear this guy talking in a different language. Fuck did I just waste my time for? Pussy shit.
Money to research on COVID-19
Cochon blanche, cochon bang bang bang.
A working group on immunity for COVID-19, the mission of which is to trace infections and better understand how we can become immunized against the virus.
Our objectives shut up!
Have been clear. Help those who need it most. Protect jobs. Support the small businesses.
Now that he just finished mid-sentence, they stopped him for a minute. He's in the same sentence. I'm supposed to believe this. I'm supposed to believe this is real.
Our government introduced a series of measures to do just that. But we know there are more people to help, more work to be done. So today we're announcing $62.5 million to support fish and seafood processors through this crisis.
Why? They don't deserve money.
People who work in fish and seafood processing plants across the country are playing a crucial role when it comes to getting food to our tables.
No, they're not.
This funding will
It's all tinned. Everything crucial is tinned. You can kill all those people. There's 3 years of food in the warehouses.
They can purchase personal protective equipment for workers, adapt to health protocols.
You might as well bring back the English
social
speaker.
Distancing measures.
Bring back the Anglophone. Bring back the Anglophone.
Could buy new equipment like freezers or storage space so that their product, food for Canadians, can stay good while they respond to a changing market.
What about all the made in China sardines? Just like East Coast millionaires, all that bullshit.
Brought on by the pandemic.
Give me that bullshit. Do not eat such a thing. You start first, bro.
Our fish sector is interconnected, so these investments will also have a positive impact on fish harvesters. On that note, I want to take a moment to
there's no connection between the two. You just said that money was
done by every person who makes Canada's food system possible, including our food producers and fish harvesters. You keep our grocery stores stocked and our families fed. I know that the past few weeks have been really tough on you too, whether it be financially or emotionally. I want to thank you all for everything you do.
Why didn't I buy sardines last night from the African market? Marketing 101 and setting prices. He set the price at over $2 a can.
We're actively exploring additional ways
no one's going
to support you as we move forward.
18 cans in a case. Well, fuck off.
On annonce un investissement. Today, we're announcing an investment of $62.5 million to support seafood and fish processors.
That's a different number. Did you hear him say a different fucking number? Holy!
In order to allow them to continue their very important work in fully safe. Processors can use this money to provide personal protection equipment for their workers, adapt their protocols, and adopt other measures of social distancing.
The only thing you need to know, the beer store is accepting empty returns starting Monday at 200 stores. This is all bullshit. You just heard him change the numbers. 68 billion, 36 billion, it's almost the same. Hey, I don't understand you French guys when you talk. It's like you have a different word for everything. Cochon!
Pop, pop. Closely related, these investments will also benefit to fishers. I would like to point out the incredible work of those who are working in the food processing area to fill our grocery shelves with the fresh products grown at home. I know
the fresh products in cans!
Whether it be
fish and seafood processing is all canned, motherfucker.
That you are doing for us. We know that you have demands and special needs, and we continue to evaluate several different ways of
special needs. If you have special needs, the only place that would hire you back in the day was the fish processing plant.
And we talked in particular of the slow reopening of the economy. We're working.
It's not closed, buddy. I gotta go handle this economy right now, you pussy.
Principles and standards that will be useful to all of us. The economy and the realities of each and every province are different, and therefore the timing and the exact measures will be different from one province to the other.
Remember this pieces of shit voice. If I ever end up within hearing shot of somebody speaking over the Prime Minister in English, I'm gonna fucking lose my goddamn mind! Listen to this shit. Straight propaganda.
Reflects our common ambition to get our country out of this crisis in the next phase.
Do you hear the Prime Minister at all?
The correct measures, we could lose all
I can't hear him at all.
Achieved to date. Our discussions are ongoing, and we will continue to work together to ensure the safety of all Canadians. All with the First Ministers, and we talked about putting together a joint statement outlining what needs to be done to reopen the economy. We're working together with Canada's chief medical officers to establish principles and guidelines for us all.
6 minutes. I get to listen to him again. Thank you. For 30 seconds, right? 10 seconds.
Each province and territory are unique, so the timing and specific measures will be different across jurisdictions.
So that you idiots in Ontario don't know he's bullshitting all day about New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. 30 million people outside of the fish processing provinces don't know what he's talking about, except for me, eh?
That lays out our common ambition to see our country through
this processing plant. There's none in this province, eh?
We risk losing all the progress we've made so far.
These
conversations are ongoing, and we will keep working together for all Canadians.
Fuck you.
Tomorrow, there won't be any press conferences either by doctors or myself, so I want to close this morning to talking directly to young Canadians.
Why? You taking a day off? What the fuck?
For all the kids watching out there, you're doing great. Keep helping out around the house. Try to keep up with your schoolwork. And
what schoolwork?
Stay positive. This is a tough time.
Staying positive is a bullshit white boy anglophone trick. Positive, I'm V19 positive. I'm COVID-19 positive. I'm probably HIV positive. Don't listen to this pussy hole.
But we need your help, too. This is a moment in our country's history that we will look back on and ask each of ourselves what we did.
How can it be so goddamn bright you can't see nothing here? I don't understand.
To serve our country, to help the world. And as you look at what you can do this summer, please remember that there are seniors who need your help. There are frontline workers, including in our medical professions, who could use a helping hand.
Stay the fuck away from the seniors, no matter what this pussy hole just said. Don't go near them. Fuck is wrong with you people?
Look at how you can use your energy, your drive, your vision for making the world a better place.
I could kill you, stupid. But you're such a fucking pussy. Nobody listens to you anyway.
As a country depends on each of us. The choices we make, the actions we take. So this weekend, stay home. Keep washing your hands. And if you need to go out for groceries, keep at least 2 meters apart from each other. And think about what you can do in the fight against COVID-19 to support our frontline workers, to help your community. I know that we will help each other to get through this, because that's just who we are as Canadians. Merci beaucoup. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll now go to the phone lines for questions. One question, one follow-up. Operator.
Thank you. Merci. Première question, Mélanie Marquis, La Presse.
Mélanie Marquis, La Presse. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Trudeau. Your remark yesterday on the possibility of having elder care residents under federal jurisdiction wasn't very well received in Ontario and Quebec. François Legault and Doug Ford
answered both of them that the network has been underfinanced for years. Can you commit today to increase the health transfer to provinces to avoid that we have the same problems with the second and third wave of COVID-19? Thank you, Melanie. Well, first of all, I've always very clearly stated that I have no intention whatsoever of involving the federal government in federal areas of provincial competence. But people are asking real questions throughout the country about how we're supporting our seniors and take care of our most vulnerable. These are questions that we have to have a serious look at these days. And also in the months and years to come, once we're through the current pandemic crisis, we need to think about how we're going to do better to thank those who built our country over the good years of their life. Now, we'll have discussions about the health transfer. We already transferred $500 million directly to provinces for their health systems. And we will have other discussions on how we can work together as a country to ensure that the systems in place are the right ones to help Canadians.
Very clear that I have no intention of seeing the federal government take over or get involved in provincial areas of jurisdiction. But I think Canadians are asking themselves very, very important questions right across the country about how we care for our elders, how we support the most vulnerable in society. We have to answer those questions. We have to work very hard to come up with better answers than we've had until this point. And that, yes, it means talking about transfers to the provinces. We sent $500 million in a health transfer to the provinces at the beginning of this crisis. But there is always more to do. So over the coming weeks, months, years, including beyond this COVID crisis, we need to do a better job supporting our elders, supporting those who built this country. And that's what we're going to do.
Thanks, Melanie.
Follow-up question, Melanie. Yes, thank you. Now about this emergency benefit for students. In Quebec, it seems to go against the effort that they're making there to pay students to work in the farm fields. Would you be open to modifications of the bill that you've introduced to this effect? Answer: our students need support. Summer jobs that they were counting on have mainly disappeared. They're seeking ways of paying for their groceries and their rent. Well, I know that our young people throughout the country do want to help out and will be there to help out, but we also have to be there to help them. That is why direct assistance to students in this period of crisis is not only to help the students, it's an investment in their future and therefore in all of our futures. We need our students to be able to receive this assistance that's necessary this summer, that they have opportunities to develop the work experience that will be necessary for the rest of their working lives. And we also need to ensure that they can finance their studies once September rolls around. We're very happy to work with the other parties, in particular provinces, to improve the assistance that we're providing to various sectors, including students, and we will continue to work with the provinces and territories. Thank you.
Operator.
Thank you. Merci. Prochaine question, Catherine Lévesque, La Presse.
Catherine Lévesque, La Presse. Question? Good morning, Mr. Trudeau. So I'd like to come back on the long-term care facilities. Are you serious when you say that you're ready to bring these under federal control, or was that a slip of the tongue? Answer: I've always said that I had no intention of involving myself in provincial areas of jurisdiction, but we will have discussions with provinces on how we can help them get control over the situation in the short term, and over the longer term ensure adequate financing for our healthcare systems throughout the country. But the federal government has no intention whatsoever of involving itself in matters of provincial jurisdiction. Follow-up question: yes, now you've said that, but you said that you're ready to discuss these matters as to whether it could become under the Canada Health Act. But on these national directives that you talk about, after your discussion yesterday with Premier Snett, what could you agree to concretely? And did you not wait a little bit too long to discuss these directives where provinces have already started discussing their own reopening plans? It's been weeks now that we've been discussing with provinces the basis for these directives. That they be based on facts, that they assure protection to workers, and that they provide for increased tracing and testing. We're fully agree on the basic principles and practices and approaches that are necessary. But at each step, we do recognize that the various provinces and territories will have different approaches. So what we wanted to do with this is to develop a model that would be supported by all provinces, that they can develop further in their own way, so that Canadians throughout the country see that our measures are science-based and based on a common approach throughout the country in order to ensure safety and allow the progressive, gradual, and safe reopening of the economy.
Thank you. Merci. Next question, Justin Lane, freelance. Line open.
Good morning, Prime Minister. I want to ask you about a report that came out yesterday from the correctional investigator. He wrote that prisons across the country facing COVID-19 were throwing inmates who were symptomatic or were tested positive for COVID-19 in what they were calling medical isolation, but what he describes basically as solitary confinement, and said basically it was not justifiable or tolerable. I'm wondering if you're comfortable with federal prisons throwing inmates in what is essentially solitary confinement in the midst of a pandemic.
We've taken a number of strong measures in corrections facilities to protect inmates and staff members from the spread of COVID-19. I'm aware of the report put out yesterday, and we are following up on the details.
Follow-up, Justin?
Yeah, Prime Minister, it's been frustrating asking you about this. Your public safety minister is, of course, the one responsible for Canada's prisons, but he hasn't really been seen in the past month, aside from a brief press conference on a different matter. Where is public safety minister Bill Blair?
Minister Blair is working extremely hard on keeping Canadians safe, whether it is dealing with the Nova Scotia tragedy, as you all know, or working with the public, with the Border Services Agency to make sure that our border measures are strong in place. He's been working with provinces on preparation for floods and forest fires as they come up this season. He's also continuing to work on the strong gun control measures that we've had to do. We have been incredibly fortunate to have Minister Blair work on the corrections file as well as all the other files that keep Canadians safe, and I'm very proud to have him by my side.
Thank you. Next question, operator.
Thank you. Merci. Next question, Teresa Wright, Canadian Press. Line open.
Good morning, Prime Minister. The World Health Organization has issued a statement saying there's no evidence people who recover from COVID-19 are protected from a second infection, and that was in response to countries discussing the possibility of issuing immunity passports to people who have recovered. How wise is it to be discussing plans to lift restrictions with provinces if it's possible that people could get sick more than once from COVID-19?
In the approach that we're taking very carefully around the provinces and across the country on looking at reopening, I don't believe that there are any of the plans that hinge on certain people or individuals being immune or having immune to COVID-19. The focus we have is on continuing to prevent spread through social distancing measures, through PPE in workplaces, through various measures of protecting Canadians as we move forward. There's still an awful lot of science being done on idea of immunity on protections, which is why we've invested significant amounts of money in a new Canada Immunity Task Force that will be examining these issues. But it is very clear that the science is not decided on whether or not having had COVID once prevents you from getting it again. We know it is something that we need to get clearer answers to, and until we have those clear answers, we need to assume that and err on the side of more caution. Okay. Il y a aucune science encore qui.
There's no scientific proof yet that says that if we get COVID-19 once, we become immune from a second infection. Therefore, all the plans put forward by provinces are based on the protection of the Canadians, preventing further spread of COVID-19. No one is basing their plan on immunity or acquired immunity as part of the approach for the months before. So there's still lots of work to be done on that aspect, which is why we invested in a working group, Canadian Immunity Task Force, with experts and scientists in order to improve our understanding and our knowledge related to COVID-19.
What lessons do you take for Canada from the disunity that we're seeing in the COVID-19 response in the United States? And what worries do you have about how we might ultimately be affected?
I think, first of all, Canadians can take great comfort in the fact that all of our orders of government have been working together in a very strong and aligned way. That we have, as a country, focused on listening to experts and scientists as we move forward, as we make decisions on how to keep Canadians safe. We have seen extraordinary medical health professionals and public health officials across the country sharing with citizens in their provinces how they can keep safe. We have a great team at the national level that is helping coordinate and inform the decisions taken across the country. As we move forward with a framework and guidelines that will impact on the direct decisions taken by the provinces, that the provinces themselves are working with us to generate, we've seen that this unity that Canada has, despite tremendous variance in impact of the virus, in nature of the economies and kind of situations people live in, has been deeply reassuring to Canadians, and we will continue focusing on that. And as part of the way forward, we will continue to make sure that Canada and Canadians are protected from external sources of the virus, whether that's keeping up international border measures or moving forward on specific measures around quarantine for anyone who arrives in this country. These are the things that we're going to continue to do.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau, Louis Blouin, Radio-Canada.
Louis Blouin, Radio-Canada. There's lots of people in the business community that are worried about the fact that there's not enough in PPE to reopen. Businesses will be starting up and all that. Are you aware of the fact that we may not have enough material, that our imports and our current production, domestic production, is insufficient to allow people to get back to work with proper PPEs? Answer: one of the criteria to be able to reopen some industries will indeed be to ensure that we have enough personal protection equipment in order to have workers work safely. Therefore, we know that demand will continue rising throughout the country. So what we're going to do is reopen gradually, partly because we have to have enough PPE equipment to protect workers, and not only those that work in the health sector. So both in terms of domestic production and imports, we're increasing our amounts available in a very important fashion. But until we have enough PPE, we will not be able to reopen some industries. Question currently is our stock enough? To some provinces have given their plan. Do we have enough? And if a business can't get, like if a barber shop can't get enough of them, should it put off its reopening? Answer: we shouldn't reopen the economy anywhere at any level unless we have the necessary safety measures, health measures in place to protect Canadians and stop the spread of COVID-19.
we should be talking about reopening any parts of the economy if we do not have a strong plan to protect people working there and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Prime Minister, Rachel Haynes from CTV National News. Yesterday, Doug Ford appealed to you directly in his press conference saying, if you're listening, they need help. In your call last night, what specific offers did you give to Ontario when it comes to the long-term care home crisis that they're facing right now?
We've put forward measures that have allocated billions of dollars to go to the provinces to support on top-ups for essential workers, particularly in long-term care facilities.
Oh, I gotta start the thing in the elevator. Yes, now her friend tried the same thing. Fuck you people, man. You're not doing it.
Responded to very direct requests by the provinces to send in military support. Obviously, that can't be more than a short-term answer, but we will be there to help Canadians.
1775, bitch. How long have you been in power, motherfucker? Can't be a short-term, more than a short-term solution. Really?
In different parts of this country is
I say it's time for a fucking coup, but nobody's listening to you, so it don't matter. It's just my opinion. As a dual national American soldier, you know, you're a foreigner to me, so I'm in a foreign country right now as far as I'm concerned. Why? Because at least in the U.S. they'll be given an equal opportunity. Not a good one, but equal. But up here, no, you're Indian, you get nothing. You get less than everybody.
We offered money to
I'm starting to understand why black people like the United States. You get an equal, you don't get a good opportunity, you get an equal. I'm starting to understand that. I couldn't understand that before, but I'm starting to understand.
Positively to the request for the armed forces and to assist in getting control of the situation. We will be there as much as possible because that is what Canadians expect of us.
It's what we expect of you. It's what they expect of us. Yes.
Canada won't reopen the economy if we don't have enough PPE and enough masks. But we know right now that we don't have that. We just had to return some masks that came from China because they are not up to standard.
Return? No, burn them! You don't return them, you burn them! You videotape you burning them, send them that, and say that's your proof of receipt of return. Now give us back our money or we're going to kill you. You don't know how to do business right now.
I think there are really important conversations to be had.
The Italians, Jamaicans, and South Africans, and Dutch, and Scottish, and Micmac are up here. You don't know how to do business, Greg. You're a francophone. You don't know how to do business.
In place to control
and
prevent any further spread of COVID-19. Adequate PPE supplies will be a part of that, but I can assure you that we are very much on that, whether it's the plane loads of PPE supplies that will be coming in almost every single day next week, or the domestic production capacity,
I guess I only need 10 cents.
Rapidly,
I got 10 cents. I'll get some
ready to support Canadians as we move forward on steps towards reopening. These are the things that we need to make sure we're getting right, so as to ensure that all the sacrifices we've made over the past weeks won't be for nothing. Okay. Nous savons qu'il faut prendre une approche.
We know we have to take a gradual and progressive approach and be careful about how we reopen the economy in some sectors, and overall we need to
refournir, recharger, refournir,
and people in order to stop the spread of COVID-19. That is precisely why we continue receiving more and more PPE. We're getting plane loads of it almost every day in the week ahead of us, and we shall also see domestic production of the personal protective
Motors at the Oshawa plant
producing results
where they just fired 2,500 people, but they kept 300 people.
Be an important
sort of skeleton crew
of our gradual reopening approach.
News. You said that the science.
But that was before this shit happened. The COVID happened. It was before November. That was like September, October, some shit. August,
you said Canada's studying this, but what other concerns do you have about immunity passports or certificates that might be needed down the line to prove that you are immune to COVID-19 at mass gatherings or sporting events, even to attend work when the economy?
There is no immunity, dummy.
I think any such discussions or decisions need to be based on very strong and very clear scientific evidence.
James,
and that's why our scientists are looking very, very carefully, as are people around the world, at what kind of immunity the
Flips it for 30 grand
presence of
Canadian, bro.
antibodies could deliver to Canadians.
That's where that 75-cent dollar came from. 20 grand US, 30,000 Canadian. Pound, whatever the fuck it is. That's where you get that 75-cent exchange rate, because they're flipping it out of Parliament Hill. That's why when the guy that killed for civil, I forget the pussy's name, ran up on the fucking thing, and he got gunned the fuck down by RCMP and CF. Of course he did. They're protecting the bricks.
Canada will always be there to support science and the work done internationally on keeping our planet and our citizens safe. This is something that we are looking to participate in. I think, like many countries, there are questions around how to ensure that we learn from this situation and we get better at dealing with these things with a level of transparency and rigor that I think citizens expect.
Hi, Prime Minister. Chris Lowe with Global News. Can you speak a bit more about what the federal government responsibility on the rulemaking calls when it comes to reopening the economy and where it will be up to the provincial government so far as responsibility in rulemaking and on the reopenings of the economy?
Our Constitution lays out very clear areas of federal, of provincial, of municipal, by extension, responsibilities. And of course, the provinces will have a lead role in determining how their economies will reopen. But that's why we've been working with the provinces, who are very varied in their realities, in what they are challenging.
In Ontario, we keep the trillium rotating, and we keep the machinery moving. We just switch from one product we make into another. You need masks? We got masks. No, we don't need yours. Don't try to sell us nothing. We'll give you a sample. If you like it, you send us some money. Ontario niggas run everything.
Necessary towards reopening, but of course, every province has its responsibility and its decisions to make on how it reopens.
And I understand that some premiers last night indicated that a renewed infrastructure program will be vital to restarting the economy. With construction season upon us, can you tell us about the federal plan?
Construction season 24/7. They built these towers in the winter.
To contribute a
6 years ago.
Cost to any
It's not a new thing. They build in the winter now.
We understand the importance of getting our economy going again as quickly as possible, but that as quickly as possible depends very much on ensuring that we are arresting the spread of COVID-19 and in an ability to prevent further spread. That is why, yes, we are in discussions with the provinces around infrastructure investments to benefit from this construction season, but we need to make sure we're doing that safely and responsibly, and that is also part of the conversations we're having with the provinces.
We recognize the opening of the economy will include construction, but we have to ensure that it is done in a way that does not expose the workers to further spreading COVID-19. That is why, yes, we're discussing with provinces on measures relative to infrastructure that might be helpful, but the priority for the provinces is the protection of their
gallons, I don't know the brand name, rice cooker will not burn down the house, because apparently I fucking passed out with it running.
Giving us his daily update.
And it's dry now, but it's not on fire.
Canada.
I never tested that before.
The latest on this coming up.
Why would you test that?
A few minutes.
But it did not catch fire. And it has been running since I ate the macaroni. Like, not when I cooked the first time, I was kind of
$62.5 million for the fisheries industry to help workers and businesses during the pandemic.
And Trudeau also mentioned talks between provincial leaders about slowly easing some of these COVID-19 restrictions, but says each province will still need to take a different approach, and also timing for each province will be different. Now, 680's Stuart McGinn has been following the Prime Minister's address live for us this morning. He joins us now with the latest. Stuart.
Leah, what's so important here, and the Prime Minister noted, is that each province is so different in how they're handling and dealing and being affected by the COVID-19 crisis right now. So Justin Trudeau, while recognizing that a national strategy is the right way to go to avoid confusion for Canadians, he says it's important that each province will have control ultimately over the timing and the measures that they take and when they do those things as we slowly look at opening our economy back up. Now, the Prime Minister started, as you mentioned, talking about fisheries, $62.5 million to support processors who he said play a crucial role right now when it comes to getting food on our tables. That money will go for things like personal protection.
It's all going to go to fish farms. It's all going to go to fish farms. That's why I'm pissed off. I know I spout up, but it's my video. I'll spout up.
Going to what we were just talking about, shifting back.
I didn't provide all the material. I'm not claiming I own that.
Is being built with data,
but the response is mine.
That's what the Prime Minister said, and he said over the coming days and weeks,
it smells like pussy from the depths of hell.
Canadians. We're already starting to see provinces on their own, like Saskatchewan and New Brunswick, take steps towards opening their economies and their provinces back up. But this national strategy, again, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stressing, it will avoid confusion for Canadians, so that we can all be on the same page in terms of what steps and what levels we need to reach as we slowly start to ease back to what is hopefully normal life for our country.
The whole time the economy's been shut down, I've been paying 5 cents a beer can, so I can crush them into the fucking receiver, bro. For real.
Time for traffic and weather together now. Here's Barb Andrews. This report brought to you by 407 ETR, eastbound 401 Weston in the Express. 2 left lanes blocked.
I only missed about the first minute.
We also have construction eastbound 401 east of Baby to Leslie and the collectors, a right lane blocked, and the ramp to Leslie closed. Westbound 401 west to Kiel in the Express, the left lane is closed. More construction northbound 404 at 407. The HOV lane is blocked, and then just north of the 407 to north of 7, only a right lane getting by because of construction. No issues along the southbound 404 DVP, and the Gardner QEW overall in pretty good shape. We did have eastbound 403 ramp to Dundas. We had a couple of right lanes blocked on that ramp for police investigation. 407 ETR thanks you for continuing to follow social distancing rules. Together we can beat the COVID-19 virus. 407etr.com. Your next report at 12:01 with Christine Langos. Right now with the forecast, Denise Andriachi.
Sunny downtown. It's 11 degrees. That's your guaranteed high today. The average high this time of year is 15, so we're not quite there. We are seeing a better day than the last few. It's been a bit of a cooler stretch.
I can't see my weather station because I knocked my curtain over.
Overnight tonight, we'll see some clouds and possibly some showers.
I'm sweating out there. I'm sweating in here.
By Sunday night, just cloudy, dry, near 5 degrees, sun and cloud, and near 13 for Monday. Right now at Pearson, mainly sunny, and we're at your guaranteed high, 11 degrees.
This extended forecast is brought to you by Dynamic Funds. Research shows that investors who work with an advisor accumulate 3.9 times more.
It's Shakespeare, Measure for Measure. Robert Lifton, Home from the War. Oh, here's an old school. I didn't need this here. HTML, XHTML, and CSS, cascading style sheets. That's interesting. This will actually be useful for a long time. I got other ones here that are useless. And that's got to be right here. The Narcotics Anonymous book. And it's time for the business report. Sane trapper cooped up in remote cabin with crazed wife and other true stories by Inge B. Bjornson. Here's a picture of the guy. Doesn't he look Canadian to you? He looks so Canadian. He's in the lumberjack jacket. He's got some type of baseball golf type hat on. Oh, look, he's got the one plaid shirt over the other one. You can't quite see. See the red one on? He's got 2 plaid jackets on. Motherfucker, that is Canadian as hell. You gotta have 2 because you gotta dress in theirs. Oh, you can have the one big thick one. No, I think I'll take 2. I think I'll take 2. Oh, fell on things that aren't flammable. That's good. I just knocked over all my books. And this is going to be the last one I show you, I think. I made it all the way to my copies of the Criminal Code. The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. Now, the thing is, some of my videos, this is behind me, and like this, and every time I move my head, you see the swastika. That's because I didn't see the swastika when I took this thumbnail. And then every time I move my head, you see it, so it's almost like subliminal Nazi shit. That was not the purpose. That was not the intended thing. Martin's Annual Criminal Code, Greenspan Rosenberg, 2005, Student Edition. Good enough for having a paper copy, except the rules have changed a lot in 15 years, but for the most part, pretty accurate. If you don't have the, oh, I found my dog book. I was looking for that. Now, let's put the biggest ones on the bottom of the pile. And the pile cannot fall. Oh, what do you know? The pile was basically upside down. Now it's right side up. It was upside down. Now it's right side up.
The Army is adjusting its programs and services. Or call 1-800-SELL-ARMY.
Now the weekend business report.
I'm Carl Garnash. For many Canadians,
Oh,
our
okay,
vehicles
two
remain
of them are
parked in
big,
our garages
okay.
and driveways during the coronavirus pandemic, or we might take them out for a quick spin to get essentials. And some experts say now could be a good time to turn to telematics to save some money on our auto insurance down the road.
Change to what?
Telematics, also referred to as usage-based insurance, is a type of
Telematics.
technology that
Yeah,
tracks
it is,
driver behavior.
telemetry.
And for good drivers, it can lead to a discount on their premium, which can be as much as 30%. Matt Hands, Director of Insurance at RateHub.ca, says for the insurance companies that do offer telematics, they're tracking a number of driving indicators.
You know, how fast you drive in regards to the recommended speed limit, the way you...
Yeah, assuming the computer knows what the speed limit's supposed to be, considering the speed limit's changing all over the goddamn city.
And the time of day you're driving. And they develop a score. And they take that score and they rate it against their, discount charging. We'll say, okay, let's say, for example, you get an 80%.
These are not props. This is here 24/7. This is here 24/7.
The information you get from telematics can also just help your case when you're trying to negotiate a
The weather station I'm talking about is right there. Can't see it.
And tell my insurer, yeah, I'm a great driver, and I'm always, following speed limit, my position. There's going to be no proof behind my case other than, my
That's why they got this dust jacket. It's called a dust jacket. What the dust does.
With the coronavirus pandemic causing financial hardship for many Canadians, Hans says it's important to find out how your auto insurance can work for you.
Having
Why is it
10%
fall?
discount, maybe the difference that you
Third right.
pay, or having to...
And then this one will help me write about it.
Which is good that insurance companies are offering that as an option. And I think you're going to see that more insurance companies are going to evolve the option and available discounts they're giving to their customers.
Nice and fall. The third right.
Available.
Matt Hands is the Director of Insurance.
William L. Shirer.
At the Business Center, I'm Carl Garnett.
With a new introduction by Ron Rosenbaum. So this is a
Distancing is working, but we can't let our guard down. We need to stay strong. To stop the spread, always keep a 2-meter distance from those around you when making essential trips.
I do. I put them in the ground 6 feet. I stay on top of the ground.
Stay home. Stay strong.
When I die, I'm not getting buried.
Learn more at ontario.ca/coronavirus. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
Hey, I'm Tom Power. You might be looking for something to take your mind off of things. Well, every Sunday we're doing a TV show from my living room.
So we have this
artists, athletes, frontline workers,
push-pull situation where we need so many doctors and nurses that they're just passing. Here, you're a doctor now. You made it 6 years, 5 years through. Guess what? Bang, you're a doctor now. They don't need to study the cadavers, right? At the same point, we're going to have hundreds of thousands of cadavers. And not everybody going to be paying for a funeral home. Everybody's not going to get an autopsy. And the funeral homes around here, a bunch of them shut down. And in any city, anywhere in the world, the cemeteries are basically filling up. In China, you pay $40,000 rent for 20 years or some shit. I don't know what's supposed to happen after the 20 years, but in theory, you pay the rent over and over and over again. A few years ago, they started running into a problem of people not having no money or no descendants. And that's when they stopped running China Radio International on the air here. That's what I was trying to play for you the other night, and I couldn't get nuts into work for some reason. They don't know what I want to show you from China. They think I'm going to show you about state-sponsored fucking censorship and shit. No, that's not what I'm fucking trying to show them.
The Prime Minister announces a national strategy is what will be used to guide our country back to normal life as the federal government commits financial
Just what the Chinese government did in '49.
Everyone thinks they're a chef all of a sudden, but that doesn't mean they are. Fires are up across the GTA.
A wristwatch, AM radio, and a bicycle.
In the time of a pandemic.
A wristwatch so you know what time it is. The radio so you know if you're supposed to go to work that day or not. And the bicycle to fucking get there and back.
Christine Sinclair talks about the
all of you at factory number XYZ do not show up to work today because it is closed due to a fire or some bullshit. Do not block up the roads.
And
Okay, I'll
coming up
stay
in
home.
business,
No money
many
for
of
me
us
today.
are working from home because of the pandemic, and it's got some wondering if the new normal will include a return to normal.
You know, if you slip this on the hair, that'd be perfect, but I can't. I'm gonna put this right there.
Thank you, Ken and Caitlin, and good afternoon. This report is brought to you by Hire the Gardener, and what we have going on this afternoon is an awful lot of construction.
I'm gonna put out the same thing, hire, but it's gonna be H-I-G-H-E-R, comma, the gardener.
And for that reason, it looks like it's slowed from about Kipling over to Weston in the
I ain't complaining. This material breathes, eh? This cotton, whatever the fuck it is. I think it's cotton. I think it's 100% cotton. I'm not 100% sure. It breathes. This keeps you warm in the winter and cool in the summer, right? Chill cord. Triple XL if you got one.
Closed for long-term construction.
Mine's marked 0218.
In the express left lane is closed here as
wearing
well.
it 6
Again, it's
months.
because of road work. We also have road work northbound on the 404. First of all, at the 407, they closed off the HOV lane, and beyond that,
7
north of
months.
the 407 to north of Highway
You know it's
7,
mine from the cigarette burns that are somehow on the back. I haven't figured that out.
well. And they've reopened the eastbound 403 ramp to Dundas
On the back.
following some
On the
earlier
fucking
work.
back. How the
Yes,
fuck
you
is it
can
on the
still
back?
hire the gardener to keep your yard clean. No, you don't have to come near them. Look at all the things the gardener can do for your yard at hirethegardener.com. That's hirethegardener.com. Your next report is at 12:11. And now with the forecast. Good afternoon, Jason Fraser.
Good afternoon, Christine, and good afternoon, everybody. We're seeing mostly sunny skies across the GTA. This is going to be the better of the 2 weekend days, so if you have anything outdoors, you're going to want to do it today. Later on tonight,
We
we'll see
cleared the
partly cloudy
grades
skies and a low
up straight up.
temperature
Now,
of about
here's the
60
thing with
degrees.
Lansdowne, because I
Right
never
now,
go
it's
straight up
60
Lansdowne. I didn't check them.
Guaranteed high of 11.
Wandering around in the middle of the night for a reason, eh? Looking for things I didn't know I was looking for.
There are now more people who have recovered from COVID-19.
If all that water comes straight down, you know where it's going to go?
Cases, but new numbers show
Down
the
here,
fight
and it's
is
going to
still
flood
far
these
from over.
GE properties with all the polychlorobiphenyls, PCBs, and radiation and shit. I don't want that. Let it go straight down the sewers.
For business. 6 Cities Michelle Mackey joins us
Oh
live.
yeah, them
with the
rain
latest.
puddles might be
Michelle.
radioactive, and you think of the cholera. I'm thinking of radiation. Oh, we just covered the cholera. And you're like, okay, I'm on the same level with this with the cholera, diarrhea.
3.5% increase for Ontario.
Radiation.
The province is
Radiation.
also reporting 48 more deaths
BWXT,
from the
GE,
virus.
Hitachi, right next
Today's
door.
numbers follow 2 days
Right
of new
next
cases
door.
over 600, Friday being the single highest since the pandemic began. But Premier Doug Ford says community spread of the virus is moving in the right direction. As a result, we are expecting Ford to release a framework on reopening the economy in just under an hour. However, yesterday, the Premier cautioned that the health and safety of Ontarians takes priority over reopening the
Now that
economy.
either means it's
Health
not going to
Minister
start the
Christine
quarter
Elliott
after
noted
1, or it's
yesterday
going to
as
start
well
in 10
officials
minutes. I
how
don't know
to
which.
ensure the province is past its peak of transmission to ensure hospital capacity is adequate.
That better not be
The
a
Premier
blister.
will be joined by the Minister of Health, the Minister
Little
of
bumps,
Long-Term Care,
motherfucker.
and the Treasury Board
They're not
President
red, but there's
in
bumps,
just under an hour, as I
motherfucker.
mentioned, and we will carry that press conference right here on 680 News. Ontario's total case count now stands just under 14,000, with more than 800 deaths and at least 7,000 recoveries. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
The ease back to normal is still a ways off, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau
I hope
says
you're all
talks have
paying
started on
attention
how
to
reopen
Ontario.
the
This is the
economy
only
and keep
jurisdiction I've heard of
Canadians
that's handling this shit right, except for
The
China.
Prime Minister says the premiers
This
and
is
the
China.
federal to build
You
a
didn't like
national
that
strategy
statement,
for
did
opening
you?
Canada's economy
You
back
did
up
not
again.
like
The
that
economy
statement,
and the
did you?
realities
Holy
of each
fuck.
province and territory are unique, so the timing and specific measures will be different
And
across
China was dealing with this
Justin
as
Trudeau
a
says
first
the
run. They were the
coordinated
first to
approach
deal with
backed by
this.
science and data from across the country will help avoid any confusion for Canadians, but he stressed the importance of this next phase being approached correctly so we don't take any steps back. As part of Trudeau's daily address, he also announced more funding, this time going to Canadian fisheries. $62.5 million has been allocated to the industry and its processing
I hate
plants
millionaires.
for personal
I hate that
protective equipment
caught
and
in China
supplies as they
shit,
adapt to
product
new
of China
protocols
shit. I
and
don't need
changing
none of
demand.
that.
Trudeau says
Did
they
they come
continue
from
to play
the
a
fucking
key role
Atlantic,
in
straight
putting
out of
food
New
on our
Brunswick,
tables.
PEI, or
I'm
Nova
Stuart
Scotia?
McGinn.
Man, I'm
Here's
not
time
putting this in my body, bro.
12:05. The Ontario government has extended the closure of all provincial parks until May 31st. In a statement issued this morning, the Ford government says all provincial parks and conservation reserves will continue to remain fully closed, and any reservations
Fully
made during the
closed. They have to
cancellation
use that way.
period
Is it
will be
closed? Is it like
fully
totally
refunded.
closed or just kind of
Officials say they
closed?
continue to keep
That's
the
Canada.
health of Ontarians
That's
as the
Ontarians.
highest priority.
That's why other provinces,
And
they
while we're
see the
making
Ontario
progress
flights.
to stop
Oh,
the
you from
spread of
Toronto?
the
Hey,
virus,
no,
it
you're
has
still
not
fucked
yet
up,
been
though.
fully contained.
This is 680 News at 12:06. Toronto's homeless population has seen a surge in COVID-19 cases. There are at least 135 now, most of which come from a single shelter that houses refugees. On April 16th, the province changes guidelines.
Really? How the fuck did that happen?
Testing of homeless shelters. Toronto Public Health says there are 88 residents at the Willowdale Welcome Center who have tested positive for the disease, and the majority of cases at the shelter are mild or asymptomatic.
Never put used fireworks in the recycling.
City Councilor Brad Bradford is
only put new ones
into a 24-hour
soak them in water and put in the garbage.
In support of staff at Michael Garron Hospital. Since 6 p.m. on Friday evening, cyclists across Toronto have been participating in a virtual race to help raise money for staff fighting the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think it's ridiculous. Go and do what you want.
The fundraiser has surpassed its $150,000 goal.
Hey, waste management is a fucking registered trademark. You can't use that word. Waste management.
Go to purchasing protective equipment for the hospital, which also runs a
mafioso thing.
COVID-19
You shouldn't
assessment
fuck with
center.
it.
The
Don't test
event
them.
is being broadcast live on Facebook.
You're listening to 680 News, keeping everyone home to fight the spread of COVID-19 has had
Propane,
a
bleach, nail
unintended
polish, needles.
consequence. Fire chiefs in Brampton, Vaughan, and Oshawa say the number of reported
that
fires
has a needle in the end. I'm not sure what that is. EpiPen, perhaps?
Fire Chief Matthew
Fluorescent
Banks says the
bulb,
number of
weed
fires in
killer,
Toronto have
paint,
jumped up by 17%
motor oil. Where's the
over this time
antifreeze?
last year.
Where's the
Fatalities from
antifreeze?
fires in Toronto also up, with 7 confirmed deaths in 2020 compared to 4 during the same time last year.
I took it to the Canadian Tire on Keel that has a service bay, which means they deal with used antifreeze all the time. And guess what? It was Motomaster brand in the bottle. So maybe he didn't pour out Motomaster, but he had just bought Motomaster, so he can deal with that. That was me. I left that there. The cameras show that. I still think the idiots running the drop-offs are stupid. Pick up.
It clears away the debris that can block the drains.
We'll write E smudge T and they'll know it's an extension. No, they won't. It's the letter X, a big letter X, dummy. 416 dash whatever X whatever, you dumb motherfuckers. How did you get a job answering a phone and you don't fucking know that?
It's going to answer your questions about the virus and just how the city is responding. If you do have a question, call our listener line at 416-872-6800 or send us a direct message on Twitter or Instagram, or just head to 680news.com/answers and be sure to listen live.
You used to have an app, and you got rid of your app for the Radio Player Canada app, and you don't advertise none of that shit no more. Compact fluorescent lamps are household hazardous waste because they contain mercury for some god-awful
Most
reason.
people know Ramadan is the time of year where Muslims fast from sunup to sundown from food and water. Yes, not even water. But it also usually involves nightly trips to the mosque and spending time with family and sharing meals with friends. Yusuf Badal,
My homeboy is very pragmatic.
of Toronto,
He practices, he follows Islam, but he's very pragmatic.
has changed.
He smokes cigarettes, but not all the time. And if he's starving, he will eat pork.
Right now, so everyone has to observe the holy month from a distance and stay home. But in 2020, there are still ways to stay connected.
Oh, trust me, 90% of the people in the building don't know what Islam is. He's teaching them. And then there's a whole bunch of Muslims that live here, too. Like a number of them that live here, too. But yeah, interesting community out here.
Ramadan Mubarak to you all. I'm Only Qureshi.
A Blue Jays Saturday Marathon and another Leafs Classic.
Saturday.
As your Saturday sports fix.
Lions are under center, always packed for Canada Day. How many of you went to the Canada Day game against Cleveland in 2016? How many of you stayed to the end? Be honest now.
The 19-inning marathon is over. Look at the exhaustion for Mike Napoli and the other.
Now, see, there was no fucking tie game in baseball back then, was there? I knew there was. You change up the rules, eh?
Sports that has that whole game, all 6.5 hours, starting at 1. Then tonight, the re-airing of the entire Leafs Wing series from '93.
All the things I used to say as a kid I wanted to see on TV, they wouldn't put. Now they got to put it, or you're not going to watch. I ain't been watching. I told you I wouldn't. You didn't listen. Yes, you will. Didn't you see the commercials? No. I don't know what you're advertising or talking about, bro.
680 News gas price update and Pro predicts the price.
All these so-called famous people that I don't know who they are, because I didn't see the commercials.
Coming up in 60 seconds, traffic and weather.
You better spend your money wiser on radio ads. I might have heard that.
Efforts are making a difference. Physical distancing is working.
Look at this crazy fucking Afro Dutch hair, right?
We need to stay
mixed with
strong.
Micmac and Ting.
To stop the spread, always keep a 2-meter distance.
Messy bandana before I let you see the hair. I showed you when I got up, when I turned it on.
And community
That's what it looks like when I get up.
Stay home.
Frizz all over the damn place.
Save lives. Learn more at
It's not a joke when they talk about mixed blood kids having fucked up hair. It's
Paid for
true.
by the government of Ontario.
My name is Aaron Waxman, and in times of
Think about
uncertainty,
it. Thousands of years of the hair and the skin getting along, and then you go and crossbreed with some other group, and yeah, you get fucked up hair. You get blotches of dark and light skin like I got.
At my firm, I've encouraged staff to work from home and to follow the guidelines to staying safe.
That's a train. I could be wrong, but I think it was just a locomotive. No, I can hear it again. It is so deep, there's no way this mic gonna pick it up. I can hear the G ride out there, but I'm trying to listen for the local.
And it's a slow go from about Kipling, so if you're traveling through that area, you might want to stay with the collectors. There's actually volume today.
He's got about 10 minutes to come on the air.
And west of Kiel in the Express, the left lane is closed for construction.
So do I have, I got resin. I'm not going to smoke the
westbound
roaches. I'm going to smoke the
closed
resin.
for repairs. As for the
We got
eastbound
one match
407, the
left,
ramps
so
from westbound Britannia and
unless I
northbound
want to use the
Bramley are
poster
closed,
up
and
in
from
the
Yonge to the
dog.
404, we've got only the left lane open because of construction. Northbound Yonge and Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 are closed as well. Northbound 404 at the 407, there's construction in the HOV lane, a delay from approaching Highway 7, and then beyond that, north of the 407 to north of Highway 7, 3 left lanes are closed. So it is busy through this area. Eastbound Gardner ramp to Kipling, there's a stalled vehicle here on the right shoulder. It's
Get you a cigarette out here, eh?
sale, plus up to 60%
Something like that.
off.
Or
Open
did I-
online
yeah.
and by
No,
phone
that's
for
five.
easy
Where's your
curbside
10? You
pickup.
got 5
Get
and
your
20s.
new
Where's your
motorcycle
10?
with
I got
finance
10.
rates
There
as
it
low
is.
as 0%.
There it is.
GPBikes.com.
Let's get you a cigarette out here, eh? Let's get you a cigarette in the UK.
1221. And now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
The 7-sided
We're seeing lots
motherfuckers
of
are interesting.
sunshine across the greater Toronto area, and it's pretty much going to stay that way for the rest of the afternoon and into the evening. Some of us could see some clouds develop later on tonight, but there's no rain to talk about. That is going to be impacting us tomorrow as we have a storm that's going to be moving across from west to east. And we could end up seeing about 2 millimeters of some rain showers, so not very much, but just enough to make things a little
I
bit
know
smoother.
your computer says that you cannot get 2 millimeters of rain. I don't believe that.
Right now in downtown Toronto, it is 11 degrees and partly cloudy. Similar conditions at Pearson. 680 News Time.
This coin is about a centimeter across.
Sedan after a 25-year-old Toronto man was shot in Vaughan's Maple area. Police were called to Bachman Drive, that's just east of Jane Street and south of Major Mackenzie West for reports
This
of
coin
gunshots.
is about 18 millimeters. 18 millimeters. A ninth of this coin. Are you serious? That's how deep the water is? I don't believe
Police
you.
surveillance of a vehicle
Let's see the
believed to
sewers
be involved in the shooting. Again, a black 4-door sedan, possibly a Honda Civic. Anyone with information.
So it could have been a Hyundai or a fucking Nissan or a fucking Mazda. Because Honda had shit tight until about 2014. Through 13. The 14 model I don't like.
First 6 months of employment.
And then every fucking car company copied the Civic. And then Honda copied those fucking car companies. And you got the ugliest cars I've ever seen.
Even though special gatherings across the country have been canceled.
They make pretty cars for 5 years and ugly cars for 5 years. Back and forth. I don't know why.
A message from Unifor Local 414, where job safety is their
What do I like about the
priority.
To the nurses and
It always
doctors who hold
starts.
their shifts. To those wiping down every surface.
It's not a
and
sports
keeping us
car,
safe.
but you step on the gas and it will pick up highway speed easily.
To all frontline
The
and
cruise
emergency
control works
workers,
great. Digital
Subaru
speedometer.
dealers salute you. In fact,
The cruise control's a little weird on the Civic. It'll go a couple kilometers up or down as you set it. You gotta keep adjusting it a couple times sometimes. Not usually,
visit us
sometimes.
online, because that's how we'll safely plan every
5
day.
liters per 100
For your Ontario
kilometers.
Subaru
No
dealers,
shit.
Let's all stay safe.
This is All News Radio, 680 News.
Tank's 55 liters. That's all right. You can always put a $50 bill in the tank.
Center in downtown
Not
Toronto.
have to worry about the change.
And I'm
It's empty.
Caitlin Lee. Here are the top stories this hour.
476 new cases of COVID-19 today, and
What was that,
48 new
50
deaths in
liters,
Ontario.
5
But
per
more
100.
people are beginning to
Catch the
recover and
range
become
on that?
infected in our province.
Oh, in
The premier
practice,
is
it'll be
expected
closer to
talk this
600
afternoon
kilometers,
about
but
the
it's pretty
framework
good.
necessary to reopen Ontario. We'll carry it live right
The
here.
car's damn near invisible.
At 1 o'clock. And the Prime
Only
Minister
downside is
is
it's the most stolen car in Canada.
Justin
Or
Trudeau
Toronto.
says a firm
That's the only
plan needs to be
downside.
in place to avoid
The new one's got all these
confusion
electronics
and
and
keep
things.
Canadians on the same page. 680 Stuart McGinn is following that story. 680 News Time, 12:15. And time now for 680 Sports, and from Sportsnet 590 The Fan, here's Maria St-Aubin.
Canadian soccer star and national team captain Christine Sinclair spoke with Arash Madani yesterday. And when asked how she relates to her younger teammates, she says it's pretty simple.
On the national team, we just have a connection. I think it's the environment we create. We're welcoming.
We just have a
very open
connection.
environment. Every voice matters. Every voice counts.
You can catch the full chat on Sportsnet.ca. Meanwhile, rounds 4 to 7 of the NFL draft are just about to get underway. The
This
Bengals
is
are
some
kicking
World
things
War
off
II
with the
shit. This is,
107th
look,
pick,
pin-up
while the
girl.
Bills will go with the
But for some reason, she got blonde hair and
And
blue
today we have a
eyes.
special series
She's
premiere on
German. I
Sportsnet
can
590
tell.
The Fan, Sportsnet, and Sportsnet Now. You can watch and listen to NHL Classics Special Edition with Wayne Gretzky and Ron
That's just
McLean
steel, so
presented
it's
by
magnetic.
TD.
And if it
Ron
gets
and Wayne will
dented or
relive some of
bent,
the
you can
biggest
bend it
games in
back.
Stanley Cup Finals history, and the Great One will share stories and memories from his career. The show starts at 7, and
Speaking of
following
which,
that
this
at
one
8,
is
you can
curved
watch
slightly,
Leafs
and
Red
not
Wings
supposed to.
Game 3 of the 1993 Norris Division semis, and at 10, Oilers Flyers Game 2 of the 1987 Stanley Cup Final caps things off. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour, or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
680 News Time, 12:17.
How much money
Where is Monsieur Ford? Où est Monsieur Ford? Premier, first things first. Première chose, première. J'ai besoin de parler et écouter. Monsieur Ford, maintenant.
That's right, 30% just by driving safe. Visit allstate.ca or call a local agent for a quote today and see just how much you can save when you drive safe with Allstate.
Search Save 30% with Allstate for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you a condo landlord and your tenant has informed you they cannot make April rent or ask to negotiate a reduced rent?
Did you buy a condo thinking it came with land and you're a landlord? You're an airlord.
For non-payment of rent. Register for our upcoming webinar.
I'm a water and fire lord. You're an air lord.
Featuring
The
Elaine
Italians are the
Page,
landlords.
past Ontario Law Society Paralegal of the Year, to learn how to protect yourself as a landlord. Again, that is Remax
With a stick
to
or a
register.
bat or something.
680 News Time, 12:18.
Hang the
Other countries are
landlord.
finally starting to
First
ease
feed the
pandemic
face, and
lockdown
then talk right and
restrictions.
wrong.
Here's 680's
For
Joey
even
Keating.
honest folks
India
may act
starting
like
to
sinners
relax
until they've
lockdown
had their
measures for
customary
its
dinners.
1.3 billion people by allowing neighborhood and standalone shops to reopen, provided they are not in a hotspot or a containment zone. The small businesses that are allowed to reopen must follow physical distancing measures, and at least 50% of their workers
I can
must
use a
wear
squib.
masks.
I'm not going to get off of
South
this
Korea
resume.
reported 10 new cases of
maybe this-
COVID-19 and no new deaths for the second straight day. While a slowing caseload has allowed South Korea to relax its distancing guidelines over the past week, the Prime
For
Minister
what?
raised concern over possible transmissions by asymptomatic people and instructed officials to conduct antibody tests to learn how
I see
widespread
the
the
South
coronavirus is.
Koreans are
And
thinking,
Belgium is taking
I'll
its
put up with a
serious
runny
steps to
nose
roll
if it
back
means
its
Kim
coronavirus
Jong's
lockdown.
dead.
After May 3rd, hospitals will progressively reopen to some non-essential tasks. And the week after, most shops will be given the green light to get back to business, though close contact professions like barbers will have to wait another week. The world has over 2.8 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 and over 800,000 people have
The phone
recovered.
number for
I'm Joey
Parkdale
Keating.
Clean West CHC. I need
Those
that.
news
That's where I got
680
HIV tested last time.
12:19. The European Union is planning a major
Friday,
conference
10 to 11.
early
Okay,
next
that's
month
for this.
to help fill the World Health
You see on
Organization's funding gap.
Wednesdays.
And it does expect Canada to play a key role.
Brice de Schutter, the EU's acting ambassador to Canada, says the event was being planned before last week's announcement by U.S. President Donald Trump that he would pause WHO funding because of concerns it had mismanaged the early outbreak of the novel coronavirus. De Schutter says no one wants to politicize the May 4th event, but the effort to find a vaccine and fund the research needed to end the global pandemic means raising money to help the UN agency is more important than ever. He says the Canada-EU trade deal will play a key role in helping the post-pandemic economic recovery, as well as keeping essential medical supply chains open. Maureen Harris, The Canadian Press.
You're listening to 680 News at 12:20. Brazil quickly becoming one of the world's COVID-19 hotspots.
Cases of the new coronavirus are overwhelming hospitals, morgues, and cemeteries.
You've been burning down rainforests for 22 years with me telling you to stop.
Cities have warned their hospital
Good.
systems
I hope you all fucking die.
The number of infections in Brazil is expected to be much
You're not
higher
Portuguese.
than
You
reports
speak
because of
Portuguese. You're
insufficient
Spanish and
testing.
indigenous and
Brazilian
black.
President Jair
Just like
Bolsonaro
you.
continues to
Except
insist
for the
that
Spanish, just like
COVID-19
me.
is a relatively minor disease, echoing his ally, President Donald Trump. Unlike Bolsonaro, however, Trump has moderated his skepticism about the virus. I'm Sarah Bassett.
And on Monday, over 200 beer stores will allow people to return their empties.
When Glenn Howard
my
is
$10 now, or do I
together
wait
at the
till
Curly
Monday?
Rink, he's managing a beer store and helping with their public relations. He says as the beer store is still maintaining social distancing, they're asking customers to limit empty returns to 1 cart per person. And if you feel like you have more than a cart, you can contact one of the 7 distribution centers across the province.
You can get a hold of them. They will take empties at any time. If they're massive amounts, we can pick them up.
And every Sunday from 9 to 3, distribution centers are set up
Beer
as a drive-through
Express.
system.
All the empties will be
You order your
taken
beer.
off your hands, so to speak. You don't even have to get out of your vehicle. There's a no-touch system in place.
I'm Tim Hurd.
I've never had a beer store employee try to touch me. They will hold the money out like this and drop it in your hand, or they will put it on the counter. They never try to grab it out my hand, and they never try to touch my wrist while they're handing. Why are you touching my wrist while the money goes here? You hold it here, you move your hand, you drop it, and then go like that. Why? Neuro-linguistic programming.
401 west of Kiel in the express, left lane is blocked, and the northbound
You're not gonna
Avalon Ranch to
program
westbound
me.
401 is closed
You're
because
white,
of
you're
long-term
blank.
construction.
Blank.
It's also
You're
slow
ready
go
for
on the
programming.
northbound
I'm not. I'm
404
fully
because
programmed.
of the 407
DNA
with the
computers.
HOV
Are you
lane
paying
blocked for
attention?
construction, and then from north of the 407
Overwrite
to north of
DNA
Highway
with the
7,
same DNA
3
over and over.
lanes
You
are
get a
blocked
blank
off.
sheet of
Now,
paper.
over the eastbound
Then you have
407
to
because the
mix
ramps
it with
from
new
westbound
DNA.
Britannia and northbound Bramley to east 407, they're closed for construction.
Like this
And
COVID
then down
virus.
is
New
to the
DNA.
404, we've got only the left lane available because of road work. Northbound Yonge and northbound and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 are closed, and the eastbound 407 ramps to Leslie and to the 404 are closed because of all of this construction. Plumbing, electrical, furnace, water damage problems in your home, call AGM Renovations. For an express service and safeguarded visit, go to agmbasements.com. Your next report is at 12:31, and now with the forecast, here's Jason Fraser.
Well, right now, the majority of us are seeing mostly clear skies across the region. We have no rain to talk about today. And if you have anything to do outside, whether it's walking the dog or taking a quick run to the grocery store, this is definitely going to be the day to do it. And later on tonight, we'll see increasing clouds and a low temperature dipping down to about 6 degrees. The reason why I said today's going to be the better of the 2 days is because tomorrow we have a slight chance of seeing some rain showers. We're not talking about much, just up to 2 millimeters possible. But it will be breezy. We will see.
It is 83 degrees, 52% humidity in here right
temperature
now.
tomorrow, 12 degrees. And then
82,
tomorrow
baby.
night, the rain will end, and we'll see the low temperature dip down to around 6 degrees. For Monday and Tuesday, we'll see the clouds and a high temperature near 12 degrees. And then for Wednesday, that's when we'll get another shot at some rain showers at a high then of 10 degrees. Right now at Pearson, we've reached the guaranteed high of 11 degrees.
680 News Time, 12:23.
In times like these, shouldn't your money work even harder for you? We think so. That's why at Duca Credit Union, you get no-fee checking accounts. You also get high interest on deposits and investments, and low mortgage rates. Plus, you get to share in the profits. That's the Duca difference. And now, get rates as low as 2.49% on a 5-year fixed mortgage when you switch to Duca. Find out how at mortgage.duca.com. Do more, be more, achieve more with Duca Credit Union. Conditions apply.
680 News, first at 5.
With Laura Carney and Mitch Burke.
Weekday mornings at 5 on 680 News.
Ask for us on your smart speaker.
The ongoing pandemic couldn't stop Canadians from gathering online to honor the 22 people who died in a mass shooting in Nova Scotia. Madison Fitzpatrick has more on last night's vigil.
The online vigil for the 22 victims was streamed online. And
They all got
Canadians
police
across the nation
funerals.
joined on
By the way,
Facebook
can somebody
Live
please
to
organize
pay their
these stuff?
respects.
22 people dead or 23 people dead? Is it 22 or 23? 22 were murdered and one more died, or 20? Like, you gotta.
Her parents were murdered.
Why is the number changing? Because in Canada, these numbers always change, and you're like, well, what happened to the other dead guy? Oh, there was no dead guy. Really? I don't believe you because you just said there was a dead guy. How'd you say that without seeing a body? So, where's the body? That's what they say about Egyptian kings, eh? The proof they existed is the body. The proof they existed.
Until we reach that brighter day.
The investigation continues as the RCMP released a timeline of the events and say a violent domestic assault
I want to know.
triggered the murderous rampage.
I don't care about that. I want to know why the RCMP was shooting at the fire hall.
In 60 seconds, we'll have your
I want to know why two officers did. If one officer starts shooting, the other officer's supposed to be his check him. Like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Or you're supposed to have his back too, but like, what the fuck are you doing shooting at a fire hall? Did you not think there might be firefighters in there, even if the guy was in there? Like, what the fuck? After you told the public to shelter there. You should have stripped off your uniform, got in street clothes. Oh, you can't do that? I can. I can. Run up on the fire station like a civilian. There's a guy out there just to see what's going on. They would have said, loot a guy? No, look at me. I'm not even wearing a uniform. You don't think. Scotians think, but these RCMP are not Scotians. They're outside police.
Frontline healthcare workers. CanadaMaskSupply.ca offers personal, non-medical masks and face shields at reasonable prices. Proudly made in Canada.
Everyone's a hustler.
Non-medical masks and face shields now at CanadaMaskSupply.ca.
Here's time, 12:26.
680 News Business Report.
I'm Chris McCusker. Many of us are now working from home in an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19. But it makes you wonder if Senior Managing Director of Workplace Strategy at CBRE, a commercial real estate services and investment firm.
I think it's
CBRE, Richard Ellis.
tell, quite frankly, what the long-term effects are going to be.
Most of them got ordered to work from home.
And,
wasn't a choice.
Transformational change. I would say, in the short term, certainly work from home has completely disrupted organizations and day-to-day operations. In conversations that we're having, the majority of organizations have stabilized and been able to get most of their business operations up and running.
And because of technology, the transition was probably easier for some rather than others.
I would say for the majority of organizations, yes, the technology was in place. The adoption and the familiarity with that technology was wide-ranging. Not everyone gravitated to learning the technology that would enable them to work.
But this is so that, because this is not water resistant. Anything gets on this, I got to wash out thoroughly. This I can rinse off. They're going westbound on DuPont. You didn't know that from the sound? From the mono feed here? You didn't know that? I figured that out. I didn't even look. I go look, but why?
Are going to be much more proficient in leading distributed teams and work from home teams.
Lisa Fulford-Roy is with CBRE, and at the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker.
CBRE, the RE is Richard Ellis.
Efforts to beat COVID-19 are making a difference. Staying home, physical distancing, and hand washing are working, but we have to keep going.
Brad J. Lamb, the cocaine goat, is fucking in charge of the condos, residential condos. CBRE handles
Stay strong.
all these industrial, commercial, retail properties I walk around and see vacant. Big sign, CBRE, Richard Ellis. Call this number. Yeah, I look at all the vacant commercial properties, not the residential. I'm not interested in a $1 million house, not allowed to run a business.
Well, don't wait for the money to fall from the sky. Call Northwood Mortgage and start taking care of business. Use your home to save money. Pay off your mortgage faster. See why Canadians have turned to Northwood Mortgage for over a quarter of a century.
Yeah, you could steal my chain and wear it, but remember what it means. Marked for death, buddy. Can you do that? Can you live up to the Call of Duty?
Let's take a look at your short-term forecast. Today, a high of 12, plenty of sunshine. It's going to rain on Monday, though. 8 degrees the high and 13 on Tuesday. So this is going to warm up the rest of the week. 680 News Time at the double tones, 12:30.
5 seconds.
#1 for news in Toronto. This is 680 News.
Now, I don't know if it's the digital clocks fucking around or if it's the electrical supply off by a bit. But it's always between 15 and 5 seconds. The beep goes 5 to 15 seconds ahead of that clock, the mechanical one.
Outline a framework for reopening the economy.
West clocks.
As Ontario marks its
Glow in the dark.
new COVID-19
You know what I'm talking
cases
about?
in
No.
more than a week.
Radium, the radium
A
girls.
coordinated national strategy backed by science. That's what Canada says is being built to help see our country through the COVID-19 pandemic.
Plan a staycation for May 24. All provincial parks will remain closed
shit,
until
right.
the end.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. It's not on the goddamn
Ramadan
calendar.
is
Victoria
upon us, but
Day.
this year will be very different. Instead of spending time with the community and nightly trips to the mosque, millions of Muslims will mark the month physically distancing at home.
Victoria Day is the
We have an
18th.
NFL trade, and the G League is set to vote on possible unionization. Sports at 45.
Just remember, May 2-4 don't mean that it's complicated. I can never remember what weekend it is.
Perhaps unfortunately for some,
Victoria Day is Monday the 18th of May.
We're talking to a divorce lawyer who says his phone is ringing off the hook.
680 News Time, 12:31.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here is Christine Lyko.
Thank you, Caitlin. This report is brought to you by 407 ETR on the eastbound 401 east of Weston and the Express. We have construction here and the two left lanes are blocked. It's really causing a slowdown from about Kipling as you make your way over to Weston and the Express. Stay with the collectors. You'll save yourself a couple of extra minutes. The westbound Britannia and northbound Bramley ramps to eastbound 407 closed for
You ever have the
construction.
cops go through your pockets and they can't find something you thought was in there and you can't find it, later on it falls out?
Only the left lane getting through this whole area is not causing a big delay, thank goodness. But the northbound Yonge and north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 are closed, and all the ramps heading off eastbound 407 to Leslie and to the 404, they're closed as well. The northbound Allen ramp to westbound 401 closed for construction, and northbound 404 from north of the 407 to Highway 7, 3 left lanes are closed for road work, and it's jamming up from approaching Highway 7. 407 ETR thanks you for continuing to follow social distancing rules. Together, we can beat the COVID-19 virus. 407ETR.com. Your next report is at 12:41. And now with the forecast, here's Jason Fraser.
Lots of sunshine right now across the GTA, and it's going to pretty much stay that way for the rest of the afternoon. Later on tonight, we'll see increasing clouds as a storm system is going to be approaching our area. We'll see a low temperature right around 6 degrees. It's 12 degrees right now at Pearson. The guaranteed high is 11 degrees.
680 News Time, 12:32.
There is still a long road ahead, but there are some promising signs when it comes to the number of recoveries through COVID-19 in Ontario.
Premier Doug Ford is expected to release more details on a plan to reopen the economy when he speaks at 1 o'clock this afternoon. 680's Michelle Mackey joins us live with the latest. Michelle.
Cam, Ontario is
It's
reporting
1, 2, 3,
3.5%
3 p.m. Count down. It's almost 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m. I know you make a wish.
This is the lowest number in over a week. In fact, yesterday was the single highest number of new cases since the pandemic began. The province is also reporting 48 more deaths resulting from the virus, but the provincial total number of recoveries now stands over 7,000. The numbers come as Premier Doug Ford is set to make an announcement from Queen's Park in just about 30 minutes, joined by the Minister of Health, the Minister of Long-Term Care, and the Treasury Board President.
I'm gonna smoke 2 packs of cigarettes waiting for this motherfucker. I think I'm gonna bug my homeboy for a little nug. Yeah, I'll be back in about 60 seconds. Yeah.
That the health and safety of Ontarians will always take priority.
Let me be clear.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m.
The safety of Ontario will always come first.
We will air Premier Ford's announcement live right here on 680 News. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
680 News Time, 12:34. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has a national strategy to get Canada back to business. 680's Stuart McKinn reports.
This is Canada's plan forward.
We need a coordinated approach nationally to avoid any confusion amongst Canadians. We're working together on a plan based on
we get
science,
confused
data,
because we're
and expert
stupid,
advice
eh?
that lays out our common ambition to see our
Brazilian
country through
Canadian
this.
coffee.
Minister Justin Trudeau says
People's Republic of China makes the cups.
nationwide to avoid
I don't know where the fuck the
confusion
lids
for
come from.
Canadians. But that doesn't mean it'll all be the same, with every province leading the charge in their own respective situations, seeing as they're being affected by this pandemic so differently. As the federal government looks forward, they also announced today $62.5 million in funding for Canadian Canadian fisheries, a market
You're gonna read
says
some of
plays
this.
an essential role in putting food on our tables and needs help with personal protective equipment and adapting to a shift in demand during this pandemic. I'm Stuart McGinn.
680 News Time, 12:35. The Ontario government has extended the closure of all provincial parks until May 31st. Health Minister Christine Elliott says, "We understand this extension may impact many Ontarians." During the month
The
of May,
source
the
for
health
reading
and
groups. We are a reading group. Even if you don't read, if you watch me read it and listen, then we're a reading group. It's like a CRI listeners group.
Day-use opportunities,
It's
access
also
points
what
at
I
all
am by
public
myself.
buildings. Reservations for arrivals up to the closure extension will be automatically canceled, and reservation holders will receive a full refund with no penalty.
After the coronavirus forced Service Canada to close centers across the country, many reported long wait times as millions called to access the services they needed due to the pandemic. A government department notoriously slow to embrace the digital age appears to be turning to online solutions to deal with the backlog. Service Canada says it has added a new online platform to speed up response times.
Bring back the Service Ontario kiosks, you
And
assholes.
a virtual assistant that will chat with you and begin COVID-19 related requests. You can visit the Service Canada website for more details.
680 News Time, 12:36. After physical distancing measures and a virtual shutdown of the economy, the question on minds across Canada is, when will things go back to normal? Speaking today, Chief Public Health Officer Dr.
Never.
Theresa Tam noted the efforts
Never.
of several Canadian scientists working hard to find a vaccine.
With the COVID-19 pandemic still in high force, there is an urgent need for this accelerated process, focused on delivering a safe and effective vaccine. And the world is responding in equal force with 20
A safe and effective vaccine. Well, you've never studied any vaccine ever for efficacy, and formaldehyde and mercury are not safe.
Tam adds, when it comes to relaxing social restrictions and easing back into a functional economy, she and her counterparts are looking at some of the epidemic criteria for consideration.
It will be another weekend of bylaw enforcement officers and police patrolling Toronto parks to make sure we're all keeping physically distant from each other. Mayor John Tory says work is also underway to figure out the best way to handle problem areas.
We're working with Toronto Public Health. They've been very much involved in this, and with our Transportation Services Department, to identify key hotspots where there are lineups or pinch points on sidewalks that need to be addressed. And we will roll out a plan early next week to address that.
Tory says we're all anxious right now, trying very hard to engage in physical distancing, so he's asking people to be kind and considerate to each other.
Meanwhile, schools in Ontario have been closed since March break, and a lot of parents want to know when they will reopen. But Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. David Williams, does not have an exact date.
Science so far shows that children have not been a major vector of transmission. They can be positive at times when the rest of the family is harboring or having been in that state. So we want to make sure that that is not the case occurring before we do that. So in a way, the community side does impact the school side, and so that we would not want to introduce that as a potential vector back into the community.
The Associate Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Barbara Yappi, meanwhile, adds that children will have to know how to wash their hands, and parents will have to keep children home if they are sick. She said there might be some sort of screening in place for both staff and kids, and looking at how to maintain physical distancing with the closeness of desks.
You're listening to 680 News at 12:38. Running is growing in popularity with gyms closed because of COVID-19. If you're new to the activity, 680's Irene Precklin is getting some tips from an expert.
John Stanton is the founder of The Running Room with locations across Canada. He says your running routine needs to be gentle yet progressive.
Start with brisk walking and then start with jogging, and then combinations of walking and running is the best way to do that.
For beginners, he suggests starting with 1 minute of each, gradually working up to 10 minutes of running and 1 minute of walking. And while you don't need a lot of equipment, Stanton says the right shoe is key. And even though stores are closed, you can still get some help in picking the right pair.
We have a free service at runningroom.com where people can go in and they can get a gait analysis, and it's all done through Zoom.
Stanton says it's important to listen to your body, and if you feel pain, stop running. I'm Irene Precklin.
Millions of Muslims around the world are now marking the month of Ramadan, the most important time of year on the Islamic calendar. But as 680's Moment Correction reports, because of the pandemic, this year's will be a little bit different.
Normally, Ramadan is marked with nightly trips to the mosque, sharing meals with family and friends, and spending time with the community. But Yusuf Badad, the imam at the Islamic Foundation of Toronto, says because of the pandemic, this Ramadan will be very different.
We've been encouraging everybody, this is for our own good. And the Islamic principle of preservation of life takes precedence. To curb the virus and to flatten the curve, we had to put this in place.
Badad says most mosques are taking advantage of technology, providing sermons and prayers online. He says charity is a staple of Ramadan and is urging all Muslims to help those in need during this pandemic.
Whether it's hospitals or whether it's to purchase apparatus for these frontline workers, the charity should be channeled towards there, at least some portions of it.
Ramadan Mubarak to you all. I'm Momin Qureshi.
You'll hear it here
First, breaking news when it happens.
on 680 News.
Now, the 680 News gas price update. Enpro predicts the price at the pump will not change at midnight. It will stay at 82.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations. Traffic and weather is next.
680 News Time, 1240. Here's the top 10 reasons to get 10 Timbits free. They're fun, awesome, tasty, shareable, delicious, snackable, craveable, dippable, delectable, and free. Spend $10, get 10 Timbits free. Offer on qualifying purchases of $10 before taxes at participating restaurants for a limited time. Not valid for delivery orders. Other terms apply.
As a homeowner, you have built up equity value in your home. With Capital Direct, equity equals flexibility for homeowners. Flexibility to finance your business. Flexibility to renovate your home. Or flexibility to pay off other bills like credit cards or property taxes. If you've got something you would like to take care of, call Capital Direct today at 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL and see what's available for you. CapitalDirect.ca.
As an essential service, Roto-Rooter wants you to know that they remain ready to help you with any of your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs. Thank you for understanding as they take preventative measures to ensure everyone's health is a top priority. Contact them at rotorooter.com.
680 News Time, 1241.
Time for traffic and weather. Together on the ones, here is Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by Lowe's. We have a couple of busy spots on the major routes this afternoon, kind of unexpected, but we have construction set up on the eastbound 401 east of Weston in the Express. That's where the two left lanes are blocked. It's slow from Kipling, so stay with the collectors.
Want to break in my house, you better be wearing boots.
First of all, with the 407, the HOV lane is closed, and as they move closer to Highway 7, the three
And I spoke for 2 minutes to the janitor.
So you're making your way through in the right lane only and a piece of the ramp lane on the northbound 404 approaching Highway 7.
What's on the ramp lane? Oh, I didn't call it. What was it, a mattress or something?
Opens up, and then we have all this
We have a piece of a spiral staircase banister on the 401 collector lanes, the far left, second from the left
Young
lane.
to the 404, only the left lane is scooting by. The northbound Young and Bayview ramps to East
Le Clé du
407 are
Canada,
closed. The
Le
eastbound
Clé du
407
Canada,
ramps to
c'est
Leslie,
un
and to the
ouvrier de
404
beauté.
Also closed the northbound Allen ramp to westbound.
I should walk around with
401.
this on my neck,
To
but the
help
problem
you
is
stay
they'd all be
safe at
asking me to
home,
open their
Lowe's is
damn
offering
bottles,
free
eh?
parcel shipping and curbside pickup with online purchases at Lowe's.ca.
Okay, I can't explain the
Your
lighting in
next
this room. I
12:51.
cannot explain. Anybody who's a photographer, videographer is going to wonder about the lighting in this room.
Pearson, and we're seeing mostly sunny skies for the rest of the afternoon. We will need the sunglasses as you maybe
It turns to black.
For a quick walk outside.
It says Canada right here.
We'll see partly cloudy skies and a low temperature of about 6 degrees. And for Sunday, that's when we're going to see more clouds.
When I go to the Netherlands, I'm going to wear this on my neck.
We
Oh, yo, I'm not Canada, motherfucker. Oh, I can't say that shit. I got accused of that once.
Degrees. Guaranteed high today.
I forgot. I got accused of that once. Oh, you're crazy. You were screaming that you were the king of Canada swinging a bat at people. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, you don't remember because you're crazy. Buddy, being crazy and having a memory problem, not the same thing.
Dentist at this time. The answer is maybe. The Ontario Dental Association says serious dental issues will be treated. That includes an injury to the mouth or face, severe infection,
Injury
like
to
an
the mouth
abscess
or
swelling,
face.
or bleeding that won't stop, or dental pain that can't be managed by over-the-counter medications. Association President Dr. Kim Hansen says everything else will have to wait.
The non-essential, which is more what a patient might typically expect going to the dentist, like a checkup, cleanings, maintenance restorations, like fillings that need to be redone, stuff that isn't as essential, that's not allowed by our college
Hansen also says now more than ever, people are encouraged to take proper care of their teeth to avoid an emergency.
You're Canadian. I see the homeless fucking crackhead crazy man brush his teeth and spit into the sewer. Not on the sidewalk of the road, into the sewer. Rinse it off with his bottle of water and continue on his way.
That's 416-872-6800.
I got suicide disease and bad genetics regarding teeth. I gargle with salt water and peroxide, but it's the same thing, eh?
Time to spring clean, like an old car taking up space in your garage. When you donate your car to Cars for Kids, that old car lives on by giving kids a chance to succeed. You can donate online in the comfort of your home, and the pickup can be contact-free. You'll receive a tax credit. See for yourself how simple it is. Go to carsforkids.ca or call 877-CARS-FOR-KIDS now to donate. Remember, that's CARS with a K.
You suffer from anxiety and depression during this pandemic, and now your claim for disability is denied. My name is Aaron Waxman, and during this pandemic, we are open and working for our clients from our home.
Jesus, it is fucking
If your
hot, man.
disability claim is denied for any reason, call me at
Yo, I just noticed something.
416-661-4878.
No, I've been talking a long time about coins from one place to another being made the same size because they're roughly the same value, even though it's totally different currency. Filipino peso, Chinese renminbi, the 100 won coin, Canadian quarter, US quarter, all the same size. Half of them are made by the Royal Canadian Mint.
12 degrees. Good
Hold on,
afternoon.
watch.
City News broadcast
See the Rizzo pack?
downtown Toronto. I'm Kate O'Leary.
And I'm Cam Dord. Here are the top stories this hour.
The number of recoveries in Ontario has now surpassed the amount of people sick with COVID-19, but we still have a ways to go before things can really get back to normal. Premier Doug Ford is scheduled to speak in about 15
It's
minutes.
the exact same
as he
size.
works on a plan to eventually get back
These are
to
money.
business.
These are
All
currency.
three levels of government are working
100 to a
on
pack,
plan to
50 to a half
restart the economy.
pack.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says
If
the
you've
chief
got
medical
the
officer
protective
of
piece on
health
top,
is
you know it's a
establishing
full half pack.
guidelines to prevent the
Or
spread
55 or
of the
whatever with
virus
this one in.
while slowly reopening businesses. And it's official.
Everything
no
is a
camping
currency
for
in
May
time
2
of
for
war,
provincial
brethren.
parks will remain closed
Look at all that
until
sweat.
May 31st.
Can't you tell by the bags under my eyes? Oh, yes, we still need to get a power bar for this lamp here. I know, for a week I was well lit, and now I'm not.
According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Washington has sent Pro Bowl left tackle Trent Williams to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for
I'm
a
going to use
fifth-round
my
pick in this year's
Chinese-made
draft
digital
and a third-round
scales to
pick in
weigh out my
2021. According to a source,
Jamaican
Williams and
traffic
49ers are
Canadian
expected to
cannabis
restructure the last year in his
from
contract.
Asia and
but Williams
Africa.
will report and play for San Francisco
Into
this
my,
season. Williams sat out
French
the
rolling
2019
papers
season over an injury
off
dispute.
my German
The
Nazi
31-year-old made
book
7
here.
consecutive Pro Bowls prior. Meanwhile, rounds 4 to 7 of the
About
NFL
German,
draft
it's
have
not
gone
pro-German
underway.
Nazi.
The
I
Bengals
always
kicking
have to.
things
I
off,
know I'm
drafting
Afro-Dutch, so
David
sometimes I
Baker,
forget people might.
107th overall. And
White
according to
supremacist?
ESPN's
Not
Avery
even close,
Wojnarowski,
brethren.
G Leaguers are set to
You
vote
call him
today on
white,
potential unionization. The G League union would be separate from the NBA Players Union and would assist with creative bargaining with the NBA on topics such as travel, salary,
It's
and
1:47 p.m.
The 15:45 past every hour.
It says, cut on set.
590.
680 News Time, 1247. You cleaned out the closet, reorganized the basement, and feng shui your living room.
I can't remember what a quarter is supposed to weigh. I can't fucking remember what a quarter is supposed to weigh. I got the book right here. I
Resources
forgot.
you need. So lessmess.ca has made it easier and safer
It says
to get topsoil,
448.
mulch, compost, sand, and stone delivered to your home with the Less Mess Enviro Bag.
Need a power bar to charge it. These cordless phones, I'm gonna tell you something. Get the 4 handsets, even if you only need 2, because you're gonna burn one out. The battery replacements come in packs of 3, not 2 or 4. Now, if I sold replacement batteries, I would sell 1s and 2s.
Taking extra precautions to keep customers, their pets, and our
No, they sell 3 packs because they know you're gonna burn out one of the handsets. The handset still works. If I plug in a charged battery, it will work, but it will not charge. The charge circuit is fucked.
We've shifted to a curbside program for all our customers' needs.
Now I got
Your local store today.
one of the chargers is busted for some
Call to
reason.
place your order for pickup.
So I got 4 adapters,
News Time, 1249.
2 chargers plus the base station is 3, 3 handsets.
680's Joey Keeney is on the international watch.
Well, I think I could go another few years, still have 1 working phone. I
Deaths
think.
from the coronavirus. 12 new cases were reported today.
Oh, you're still on?
11 of
You're
them
supposed to
brought from
shut off.
overseas and 1 local transmission, according to the National Health Commission. Just 800.
You can't work around here on your transmission, bro. All the local transmission shops are shut.
For being either suspected cases or having tested positive for the virus while showing
showing no symptoms.
Okay, we're not using this for this anymore. This is the wrong fucking way.
Governments to start thinking about something
16 3/4. The other fucking 3 of these I have are all 20.00 exact.
Tackle the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The leader of the International Federation of
See,
Red Cross
20.00. Oh, you can't see it, but that's what it says. 20.00, not 01, not 1999, 20.00. That's a $20 bill.
And starvation.
20.01
doctors
is rocket
contracting coronavirus.
That's
Healthcare
normal.
professionals account for about 10%
back
of
to
all
20.
infections in the country, according to the Italian Association of Doctors.
All right, as long as I know what the man gave me, I have some idea
680 News Time
of what to pay it
12:50. The
forward
World
later.
Health Organization
You're good, you're good. It's free. It's not free, brethren. No, you're good. Yeah, okay, brethren. You know how we do. We come back soon. You know
allowing
this.
people believed to be protected against reinfection of the new coronavirus to return to work. But the WHO says there is no evidence
They
that
don't know.
people who have recovered from COVID-19 are protected against a second infection.
Because the next infection will be a different strain. You fucked up large. Now you unleashed the mother of all common colds.
Health advice, raising the risks of continued virus
Payback was our
transmission.
grandmother.
The WHO adds that tests for antibodies of the new coronavirus also need further validation to determine their accuracy. I'm Sarah Bassett.
Oh shit, I dropped that
And
on
two
the floor.
famous Canadians have heard a man's plea to protect Nova Scotian healthcare workers. Hockey legend Haley Wickenheiser tweeted she and actor Ryan Reynolds were touched by a
Dust
widower's
remover.
efforts to carry on his wife's message.
Dust
The care
remover,
assistant
right?
with the Victorian Order of Nurses was one of 22 victims of last weekend's mass killings across northern Nova Scotia. Wickenheiser says she spoke to Reynolds about paying tribute to the 33-year-old
Where the fuck am I
mother.
gonna put
The
this?
four-time Olympic gold medalist says the grassroots organization Conquer COVID-19 is working to send personal protective equipment to Nova Scotia in honor of her and her fellow frontline workers.
City News Time, 12:51.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Christine Lagos.
This report is brought to you by St. Louis Bar and Grill. We have a slowdown on the eastbound 401 from approaching Kipling over to east of Weston in the Express. It's all because of construction lined up in the two left lanes and perhaps more motorists out on the roadways than usual today. On the northbound to Allen ramp to westbound 401, we have construction here long term, so this ramp is closed. And westbound 401 west of Kiel in the Express, there's construction in the left lane. Northbound on the 404, the 407 in the HOV lane is closed as you head for the towards Highway 7. They've closed off the 3 left lanes, so it's slow going through this area as well. On the eastbound 407, the ramps from westbound Britannia and northbound Bramalea are closed. And from Yonge to the 404, only the left lane is getting through this area, so all the ramps to and from the 407 in this area also closed off. And it looks like we still have a problem on the Kipling ramp to the eastbound Gardner. It's over on the right shoulder until it's on scene. St. Louis Bar and Grill thanks you for supporting local businesses, including your local St. Louis restaurant through takeout and delivery. Their deepest gratitude goes to the
Reported
first
July
responders
13,
keeping us all safe. Your
2017
next
by
report is at 101.
so
And
at
now with the forecast, here is Jason
music
Fraser.
company, Toronto. So I gotta check
Right
it
now,
out.
we're
I
seeing
gotta
lots
preserve this for the
of
future.
sunshine in around the GTA.
The piano, the 88 keys, alleyway piano, said
the
Toronto on the
afternoon
fucking
into
front of
this
it.
evening.
There's pictures
So
on
we're
West
continuing
Toronto
to
Street on the
use
side of the
your
Rona or
outdoors
the
thing. Just
Lowe's
make
or
sure
whatever
that
the
you bring
fuck
along
it
the
is.
sunglasses. Later on
The
tonight,
soap
we will
factory,
end up seeing
the
some
piano
cloud cover, but
factory,
no rain to
the
talk about.
the
That's gonna be
margarine
coming
factory.
tomorrow afternoon.
Oh yeah,
And we'll
they
see
didn't
a
know
high temperature
margarine
then
was
of about 12
garbage. They thought it was a
degrees. Rain will end by
substitute, a
tomorrow
cheap
night.
substitute
And
for
we'll see
fucking
mostly
war
cloudy
efforts
skies
and
and with
shit.
a low temperature of about 6 degrees as well. Monday and Tuesday, that's when we'll see a mix of sun and clouds and a high temperature on both days of about 12 degrees. Right now in downtown Toronto, it's about 10 degrees. The guaranteed high is 11 degrees.
680 News Time, 12:53. This extended forecast is brought to you by Dynamic Funds. In times like these, we could all use advice, especially when it comes to
See the
investing.
skinhead?
Advice matters now more than ever. Speak to a financial advisor and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
IUEC Local 50 reminds you that most job site accidents involve young, inexperienced workers during their first 6 months of employment. In fact, around the world, a worker is killed every 30 seconds. April 28th is the annual International Day of Mourning. Even though special gatherings across the country have been canceled, please take a moment to remember those injured or killed and commit to a safer workplace. A special message of remembrance from the International Union of Elevator Constructors Local 50. Visit IUEC50.org.
We work for you.
Like the FBI photos, this is what he may look like with a gold teeth. This is what he may look like with dreadlocks. This is what he may look like as a ball head.
If you have a question, ask it at 680.
These don't expire anymore. I don't know what the fuck purpose of the expiry date is.
We're in this together.
Let's smoke a joint and listen to the premiere.
While physical distancing rules prevented an in-person gathering, Canada came together online yesterday to mourn with Nova Scotia and to remember the 22 victims of last weekend's killing rampage in the province. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Governor General Julie Payette, and
it's not very green, but it is green enough.
Were among those to pay tribute, sharing their condolences from their homes during the virtual vigil.
I'd like to extend my condolences to all the family and friends.
Hey, this one's not cracked.
As well, the family of Constable Heidi Stevenson from
Because that's the catch with stainless steel, is it'll fracture if you bend it.
I'd like to thank all the first responders and as well medical personnel that faced this nightmare head on.
The 90-minute event included Nova Scotia musicians Natalie McMaster, George Canyon, and Classified, whose performances were all streamed online.
And I know because of KRS One. I think that was the last fucking feature KRS did, was with Classified.
So, you're moving to a new home, and all that's left to do is to call a mover you know
See
you
the
can
beat,
trust.
the bung, whatever you want to call it.
You think
cracked.
2 men in a truck, since you know they have lots of men and lots of trucks.
But this dish I use on purpose to dry out the weed.
With a 96%
The extra air inside I use this on purpose to dry out the weed.
The choice is simple. We're 2 men in a truck. We're open for business. 2 men and a truck. The movers who care.
The Salvation Army
Ooh, I miss you, Ford.
personnel and volunteers who are working tirelessly to provide essential services to the vulnerable during COVID-19. As this pandemic
One
continues
match,
to impact
10
our
cigarettes,
communities
and 2
across the
joints,
nation,
I guess.
the
One big
Salvation
one.
Army is adjusting its programs and services to bring help and hope to those who need it most. Join us and support our neighbors in need. To donate, visit salvationarmy.ca or call 1-800-SELL-ARMY.
680 News Time, 12:56.
Now time for your business report.
I'm Richard Southern. We're all self-quarantining for a very good reason, but in some cases, it may have had some negative consequences. Family lawyers are finding themselves awfully busy. Russell Alexander has a family law practice in the GTA.
You know, the phone's going crazy. A lot of the calls over the last couple of weeks have been related to custody and access.
I'm the
So we have
neighborhood
parents
stray
overloading
dog.
access, which means the kids
Never
may
piss
come
in
for
your
the
house,
weekend
but I
and they
won't
don't
even
send
come
them
in unless
back.
you fucking really trying to get me into
Some
some
parents
food or
trying to
something.
change custody arrangements
But I
using
know who feeds me,
COVID-19.
and I know what
You
the
know,
outsiders smell like.
parents
You
are
know what their
complaining
faces
that
go.
the other spouse is in the
The
healthcare
neighborhood take care of
profession
me.
and poses a
If
risk.
I ever
But when
get
it
sick,
comes
they're gonna
specifically
shoot me.
to divorce or questions thereof, have you noticed any increase on that front?
Not yet. The studies
I
we're
know my
seeing
role.
from China
I know where I
and the United
fit.
Kingdom is that
Just say
divorce
it's
rates are
just sweet.
spiking. Spouses are having a difficult time being quarantined or isolating with their spouse for such an extended period of time. We haven't seen it here in Canada yet. Mind you, we've only been, restricted for maybe 6 or 8 weeks. It's going to be a spike. There may be a baby boom in several months.
that comes
It
out.
could be the flip side of all this, right?
But let's say this has been the final straw with my spouse. I'm done. I'm going to call Russell. What's how much is it going to cost me to get divorced? Is there like a bare minimum here?
A lot of it's going to depend on your spouse, right? So the more you can agree
650
on, the
minimum.
less it's going
No
to cost.
contest is
If
650.
you can't agree on anything, some spouses can't agree on what time of day it is, then obviously the lawyers are going to be more actively involved. There's lots of options available for people right now. Professionals are still working, mediators are still working, family counselors are still working.
That's Russell Alexander.
Well, I was sitting in the last half hour. I would have chain smoked all them
At the Business
cigarettes.
Center, I'm Richard Southern.
I know I
April
would.
26th, the
I
Today
know
Show
what the
sponsor
fuck goes on with
TSC will
these
be
fucking
your
medicines
choice
and
of the
plans.
Apple iPad
Can't replace
or
one with the
the
other.
Apple AirPods Pro
That's
noise
right.
canceling earphones, each with a bundle of accessories. The lightweight iPad is engineered for multitasking with high performance video, and the wireless AirPods deliver powerful.
Well, what is the deal with people throwing rolling papers on the
April
ground?
26th, when they're the Today
I don't
Show
understand
stopper.
that.
Shop TSC.
They open the pack and they throw like 30 of them on the ground. Are you worried that some of them might, like, what? What is wrong with the roll? Not like the first one, oh, the glue is fucked up, I'll throw that one. They throw like handfuls of them on the ground.
And are only providing contactless essential services. Just watch and wave to us through the window. With that in mind, help us honor a hero. Visit
This shit's fluffy and dry. I think I
HireTheGardener.com and
get two little
nominate a
ones.
frontline worker
Two
who
regular
could
ones.
win free service this season. Help us thank the people keeping us safe. Visit HireTheGardener.com.
You're drug dealers, keeping all the crusties level. Oh, they should just quit and never do drugs again. Yeah, that'll fucking help. You make that happen. I'm down here. I can't make that happen. How are you going to make that happen?
And sunshine, Burlington 11 with some sun. In Richmond Hill, it is 11 degrees and clear. Downtown Toronto, we've now reached 12 degrees, partly cloudy. 6:80 news time at the town is 1 o'clock.
Number one for breaking news, traffic, and bad weather. This is 680 News, Toronto.
Here are Cam Doris.
5.5. I'll give it 5.5. It's a sweep. It doesn't go tick, tick, tick. It's sweep.
Saturday, the 25th of April.
Here's what's making news this hour.
And because it's mechanical, the hands are physically slightly ahead of the fucking face, and they're not all perfectly level with each other. So at different angles, it looks like it's off by a little. It's not
Canada's
off.
premiers
It's
are working
optical
with the federal government to introduce a national strategy to get our economy going again. But they recognize this virus is affecting every province differently.
Students have been out of the classroom for weeks, and when they do return, they'll now likely have to learn some new techniques to stay safe.
The Russians are watching us closely.
Any other.
They won't be able to have the same environment that
Very
they're
closely.
accustomed to.
Because of the global pandemic,
Got the same
millions of
climate,
Muslims
a
around
very
the
similar
world will be
population,
observing the
very
holy
similar
month
population
physically
density,
distancing from home.
and a very
The
similar
49ers
land
make a
mass
big
size.
trade on day 3 of the NFL draft. Sports at 15.
If the world floods and
And coming up
overheats,
in
you know what
business,
us and
credit unions
Russia have in
raised a
common?
huge
We'll be at the
sum
exact
of
same
$1 billion
level.
to fund loans for small companies
On
today
every
due to the
level.
pandemic.
6:80 news time 101.
Oh, I got tobacco. Oh, no, that's the weed.
This
My
report is brought
bad.
to you by AGM Renovations on the eastbound 401 from Weston to just east of 400
I
in the
need this
express.
right
We
now.
still have the 2 left lanes closed because of construction, and it's heavy going from approaching Kipling. And on the northbound 404 from the 407
Every time I do
to
this, I'm
Highway
reminded
7,
of the
they closed
vegetable
the
steamer that came with my rice cooker that I cannot find.
approaching
It has to be in here, and it's not.
electrical
There is a vegetable steamer that goes on top of my rice cooker.
Speaking loud.
I'm so pissed off. Why? Because they give me rice and vegetables at the food bank,
For most of us,
and I can't cook the vegetables.
fighting this virus
I'm angry.
means staying home, isolating, stopping the spread. But for the frontline heroes, for our brave men and women leading the charge, fighting against this virus, fulfilling their duty means something entirely different. For those on the front lines, for those looking after COVID-19 patients, for those working in our long-term care homes,
Cleaning the sewers and
For those
dragging away the
caring for our
garbage and
most
burning the
vulnerable.
bodies and burying
For
the
those
evidence, leaving no
working in close
trace,
quarters,
leaving no trace.
maintaining order in our correctional facilities. For these heroes, getting up every day, getting back in the fight, getting back to the front lines, comes at a great price. It comes
Where's my
with a
striker?
personal sacrifice.
Where's my fucking striker?
Nevertheless,
Jesus
every
Christ.
day, these brave men and women show up. They take their post at every long-term care facility, at every retirement home, at every hospital, at every group home and shelter. They work 12-hour shifts or more. They take risks day in and day out. They do this to look out for us. And as Premier, it's my job to look out for them. That's why we've done everything possible to protect them, to give them the tools and resources they need. And today, we're recognizing their incredible effort. We're recognizing their sacrifice. As of April 24th,
That's Spark.
Our nurses, our personal support workers, our long-term care staff, our home care workers, our hospital staff, our staff at homeless shelters and women's shelters,
It's the last
and
match.
those looking after adults with developmental disabilities, our correctional officers, our cooks and cleaners at these facilities. They will receive a $4 per hour pandemic pay premium for every hour of work.
G.I. Joe
for the
Danger
next
Pay.
16 weeks. On top of that, those who work over
I saw
100
someone with
hours per
sickle
month
cell last night.
will receive a $250 bonus per month for
I
up to
didn't go near them.
$1,000 over the next 16 weeks.
Because I have
Full-time
B19.
PSW, cook, cleaner, nurse.
And that'll
That
never
means
change.
about
This
an extra
COVID thing will go away.
$3,560 is our way of saying thank you to over 350,000 frontline long-term care workers, healthcare workers, and other frontline staff. This increase will also help our frontline providers attract and hire extra staff they need to continue taking care of patients and residents during this unprecedented time. And I want to thank the federal government for their support in making this possible. I was on the phone yesterday with the Prime Minister and my fellow premiers. The situation we're all facing is unprecedented, and it's extremely serious. And this crisis has clearly shown the deeply rooted, long-standing cracks in our long-term care system. We need to do better, and we will do better. The federal government has been a tremendous partner to this point, but we really need them to step up. We need a sustained commitment on healthcare and long-term care from the federal government. We need them to do their part when it comes to protecting the most vulnerable in long-term care homes, because we have a collective duty as a country, as a people, to protect the most vulnerable, to look out for each other and have each other's backs. And together, we will get through this.
Have each other's back.
We will learn from this.
We're still using those
We'll
terms the other
emerge
day.
stronger and more committed and more
back the
united
other
than
day.
ever before. I want to thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll send it over to Minister Bethel.
See the black swastika? Fuck
Well,
that shit.
thank
We
you,
got a black
Premier,
trillium,
and
man.
thank you all for joining us today. And I want to thank
And if
my
we
many
do use a
colleagues,
swastika to look
some
like
of whom
that,
are standing
not
right
like
behind
that.
me,
You understand?
and the officials who've worked tirelessly 24/7 to make this day possible. Throughout this unprecedented crisis, we have remained focused on one thing: protecting the health and well-being of Ontarians.
Ooh, that is good. That
And we
is-
know that
this
the
is
healthcare
good.
heroes,
It don't look
the frontline
crazy, but it
workers
is
who are
good.
keeping our province going, face unique challenges, including
chopped the
increased
crackhead
risk
last
of
night.
exposure to COVID-19.
And he was happy.
But despite these
With
challenges,
this, not
they are
chipped.
doing
Dropped. Pay
extraordinary
attention.
work. That's why today our government is announcing a new temporary pandemic payment of $4 per hour worked over and above existing hourly wages for the next 16
You work 12
weeks
hours, that's
for those
48
on the
bucks
front
there.
lines
That's your
fighting
gas.
COVID-19. C'est la raison pour laquelle aujourd'hui, notre
Yeah, it's
gouvernement
kind of
lance
cynical, but
une
at the
nouvelle
same point, it is
rémunération
money.
salariale à la
Where are they getting
moitié
money from? These guys don't get to print it. They don't get to print it. They have to ask the government for it or borrow it. $350 billion for this province.
Qui font face à la COVID-19. We're also providing a
And
monthly
if we
lump
don't
sum
pay, you're
payment
not going to
of
repossess shit.
$250 per month
Because they never
for
paid
those
us.
working over 100 hours
You
every
lent
month
them money
for up to 4 months.
based on their ability to get us off the
Nous offrons
land, and they
aussi
couldn't
un
do it.
paiement mensuel unique
The Indian
de
problem.
$250 par mois aux travailleurs qui font plus de 100 heures de travail par mois
More than 100 hours per
pour une
month
durée maximale de 4 mois.
for 4 months.
This means that eligible employees working an average of 40 hours per week
Thank you, Brethren.
would receive $3,560 in additional compensation.
It's almost $10 a day. if you
In
think about it.
total, over
Because you got to plan by
350,000
the year
employees
when you
across
live in this
Ontario
climate.
will qualify for this wage enhancement, including
Your summer money, you
Frontline
cannot just
staff
blow
working
on
in
having a
long-term
good summer.
care
You got to figure out how to get through the winter with it, eh? Pay
social
attention.
services, congregate care settings, including emergency shelters, those providing home and community care, and some staff in hospitals. and staff working at corrections institutions. All eligible employees will be able to receive the temporary pandemic payment, whether or not there is a COVID-19 outbreak in the facilities they work in.
Good, because that makes sense.
Partnering with the federal government, we are making this significant investment, which will
Look
last
at the barcodes on our shit, bro. Look at the fucking
pandemic payment
barcodes. There's
recognizes
6
the
fucking
valiant
serial
efforts
numbers on the
of our
backs of these
frontline
things.
workers in the fight against COVID-19. These heroic workers are delivering critical services that support all Ontarians, including the most vulnerable members of our communities. They often put themselves and their loved ones at risk. They are saving our lives, and we owe them an incredible debt of gratitude. Long-term care homes and other congregate living facilities are the
Ladies love
epicenters
stay fed,
of
stay
this
fed,
pandemic.
stay fed. That line has
In
been
my
in my
riding
head
of
for
Pickering
20 fucking
Uxbridge,
years.
we're seeing this firsthand.
15.
And in response, frontline staff at these facilities are taking up the call and putting themselves in harm's way daily to help the most vulnerable. My gratitude and my heart goes out to them.
Remember when they were trying to claim all the old people were beating them up?
The most important call of public
And then they were
service
going on about elder
to
abuse.
protect and care
And
for
they
those
shut
in
up
need.
about all the old people beating them up.
I would also again like to thank the federal government for working with us on this and so many other important measures in the fight against this pandemic. Je tiens à remercier le gouvernement fédéral qui a travaillé avec nous sur cette mesure.
Merci, monsieur.
Et sur de nombreuses autres mesures importantes visant à lutter contre la pandémie. This time-limited 4-month program reflects the extraordinary challenges posed by COVID-19.
Becomes a locomotive.
But more importantly, it reflects the extraordinary response to those challenges. Our government remains committed to using every resource we have to support frontline workers as we work to stop the spread of COVID-19.
I doubt that the mic's picking it up.
Thank you all for your time today. And to all the workers of the front lines, thank you for everything you do. Merci beaucoup.
We'll go to the phone line for questions. First question.
No.
First question comes from Douglas Boyd from Rogers TV. Please go ahead.
Rogers TV, what's that?
Good afternoon, Premier.
Good afternoon.
I asked you back on April 11th about GM and Oshawa about making medical supplies. Yesterday, GM announced they will be making medical supplies face masks for Health Canada. Just your reaction to that?
Well, I want to thank GM. What a great company, along with other auto part manufacturers and automotive manufacturers as well.
That's the light.
You know, that's the true spirit of Ontario. They're stepping up. They're helping out. And hundreds and hundreds of companies, if not thousands, have stepped up and they've retooled. And they're supporting the cause. And everyone's pitching in. And I'm so grateful to all the 14.5 million people in Ontario.
I just knocked it out.
And as well as our great companies. I've always said, Douglas, that we have the greatest, brightest, smartest people, best ingenuity anywhere in the world. And when you can switch over this quickly as some companies have and retooled, that's the difference. That's why we're going in the future. Never rely on any foreign country or any foreign government or leader to dictate our supplies when it comes to PPE. So again, Jim, thank you. Thank you for stepping up and doing an incredible job.
And remember, don't ever fuck over the community again. You're going to have problems.
What can you tell us what the role the Army will be playing in our long-term care homes? And for Clear Fence, I'll be his reaction of what happened in Pickering.
Yeah, well, I'm just so grateful for the Army and General Vance. And I've said it a couple times, but I'll say it again. When I talked to the General, he said, Premier, send me into the toughest homes there are. You have to just love the men and women that serve our country, willing to do anything, help us out. They're true champions.
We jumped into World War II. The U.S. had to be dragged in.
We're incredibly grateful for the federal support in terms of actioning our military.
I think that's when the MICMAC started joining the Canadian forces, even though we're U.S. Army.
Issues were predating the pandemic.
Before then, we were foreign enemies of the British Crown. Now we're allies.
Surrounding infection and COVID-19, even in the community. So that has impacted our long-term care homes.
Okay.
I swear that thing
Well,
was the size of a head of a needle, eh?
asking the question about
On
Pickering.
the floor here
That's my right
somewhere.
in my community.
Bastard.
It's a
Bit me and ran.
heartbreaking, and many families and constituents reached out to me, and I talked to all of them, many same day, and I will continue to. No ask is too great, whether it's to get the hospital into the facility through a public order.
I was going to ask for a broom, but I think I got $5
the
to
military
buy
in to someone
That's
asked me if I
trouble
could
for
help
free.
get an iPad in there.
Salvaged it.
And I said, well, I'll check with public health, but I'll do everything I can. You know, at the same time, I've come to know a lot of the frontline workers. And the other day, I was at a part of a motorcade in Ajax Pickering Hospital, where over 400 cars came out and drove by the hospital, thanked the frontline workers. And it was very emotional because as I was driving by, I was waving and smiling, and they were smiling and waving back, taking pictures. And I thought,
oh yeah, years from now,
I choked
there'll
up
be
because
pictures of this
it's
shit.
backwards. We're there thanking them. But you realize it takes a community. It's hit us hard, and we'll do everything we can. And as the Premier has said many times, we're going to do everything we can, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
If we ain't got money, we pull out the
Question
KD.
comes from Carly Bierman from CBC National. Please go ahead.
To the papa de
Good afternoon, Premier and
la
Ministers. Last week, we heard from this very press conference that hospital staff were going into select long-term care facilities. So what's new about the emergency order to redeploy staff announced today? And just like with today's announcement of paying PSW more, why weren't these measures announced weeks ago when we only had a handful of outbreaks versus now where there's over 100
Because everybody's scrambling, dog.
COVID outbreaks? And specifically on the
I'm
question
the
of
devil's
pay, about a month
advocate,
ago, I
bro,
asked
but the
Minister
government
Elliott
not really in a
why the province wasn't considering
good
this, so
position
what's
here, eh?
changed?
Well, before I pass to Minister Elliott,
If we all
need the
decided to
flexibility
go
to have
against what they
hospital
said,
staff,
there'd be
go
nothing
in
they
and
could do
support
to
us
fix this.
long-term care. As for the question why we didn't increase the pay earlier, I wish I could increase the pay right from day one. The government didn't have the capacity at the time, and I want to thank the federal government. They played a massive role in stepping up and helping us. So they put the program together. We've put money in.
Again, if the Prime Minister didn't want to work with the premiers, we would be fucked. They'd be fucked. Whatever, however you want to look at it. This will be a wasteland, feudalism. And people like me, we're still going to run our blocks.
Personally,
If I got to eat your food, I'm gonna. If I got to fucking end you to get that food, I'm gonna. I'll feed you to the fucking dogs. And then I'll eat the fucking dogs. If the locusts come, I'm going to eat them too.
Thanking the long-term care workers. I'll be leaving.
Famine.
Right
You're not
after this
creative. You got no imagination.
I'm so grateful for the people out there that are working day in and day out. They deserve every single penny times 10 if we had the capacity, what they're making. And we just want to show a small token of our
Those
appreciation.
people ain't getting ahead, eh?
for the
They're
hard work that
just
they do.
barely
Absolutely,
surviving
Minister.
because everything they got to do costs more now. They go to the gas station, oh, this one's closed. Got to go to that restaurant. That restaurant's not delivering tonight, and so on. It's I need my medication. Can't get blah blah
People
blah.
in long-term care homes to help staff up, to help with infection control and prevention, cleaning and everything else that needs to be done. But what we found that while this was happening, gradually, it just wasn't happening quickly enough to get the numbers of people that we needed into our long-term care homes immediately. There's several thousand people that are required, in addition to the armed forces staff that are coming forward, in addition to the numbers of people that have come forward with our workforce matching portal. We simply needed more people there. So we did speak to the Hospital Association. They understand why we needed to do it. But I also spoke with the employee organizations, with Ontario Nurses Association, with SEIU and other groups to speak to them about this. And without hesitation, they agreed to this, knowing that there is a need in our long-term care homes. They want to help these very vulnerable citizens as well. So it's a great example of teamwork among the hospitals, the employee organizations, working with us in the government, with the Ministry of Long-Term Care and the Ministry of Health. So that's how we're going to beat COVID-19, with everybody working together.
Oh, it's all on this side.
680 News on 118. If you're joining us now, we just finished hearing from the Premier, who does have some new plans on how to help frontline workers.
And 680's Michelle Mackey has been following along and joins us live. Michelle.
Yeah, Caitlin, we're listening to Premier Doug Ford and members of his cabinet live from Queen's Park this hour, announcing a temporary pandemic payment for frontline healthcare workers.
This little spot of resin is
per
irritating.
hour pay increase for the next 16 weeks, along with a $250
Because they don't qualify for
payment per month for
they're
healthcare
working,
workers
so they don't get.
working over
You see what I'm saying?
100 hours a month. Again, that is for the next 16 weeks.
The math we're doing up here is so complicated. There's so many levels. Even double entry account keeping, yes, I know what that is fucking
Reporting
difficult.
live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
This is 680 News at 1:19. Reopening also on the Prime Minister's mind. 680 Stuart McGinn says Justin Trudeau is cautiously looking to the future.
The Prime Minister says a national strategy is the right way forward when we look at reopening Canada's economy.
If we don't get the next phase right, we risk losing all the progress we've made so far.
Justin Trudeau says after speaking with the premiers last night, they've agreed to develop this strategy based on data and science so that our country takes the right step forward from this health crisis. But both levels of government recognize measures and timing will be different between all provinces, who will ultimately have the final say in how they ease back into normal life. While looking forward, the federal government announced more funding today. $62.5 million is going towards Canadian fisheries. The money will be spent on things like personal protective equipment and refrigerators, as Trudeau says those companies
If I forgot to do that, it'd be all over the floor. You've seen me do that, haven't you?
I'm Stuart McGinn.
680 News Time 120. Ontario provincial parks and conservation areas will remain closed until the end of next month as the battle to curb the spread of COVID-19 continues. The parks were closed in mid-March and were originally slated to reopen April 30th. In a statement issued today, the provincial government said the closure will extend until to May 31st as the virus has not yet been contained. All car and backcountry camping, as well as the use of public buildings or roofed accommodations, will be prohibited. All campsite reservations up to that date will be canceled, and residents will be provided with a full
In English, you say
refund.
please. Well, what does that mean?
In 60 seconds.
The French is if it pleases you.
680 News Time 120.
Spanish is por favor, for a favor. But in English, you just say please like a command. Sit, stay, please. Give me that, please.
All Canadians with the essential services they need to get through this unprecedented
I don't like speaking English.
But whether you're
English is for business and math, selling drugs, and that's all it's for.
And if you need us, just know
Oh, it's a great language. Yes, it works. You separate it from the British people 500 years ago, whatever, and it's just a language.
Or talk to your broker.
Ontario, your
I take
efforts
it at
to
the end of
beat
the conference.
COVID-19 are making a difference. Staying home, physical distancing, and hand washing are working, but we have to keep going. This is when it matters most. Don't put your family and friends at risk. Stay home, stay strong, save lives. Learn more at ontario.ca/coronavirus. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
News Time 121.
Traffic and weather.
So if you read the diagrams, everything on rolling a cigarette, hand rolling, they'll tell you to put tobacco sticking out here, roll it, and then pull it up.
Left lanes are blocked, so it's a slow go through the stretch. Eastbound 401 is heavy from approaching Kipling to Weston, because from Weston to east of the 400 and the Express, 2 left lanes are blocked. Stay with the collectors. And eastbound on the 407 from Yonge to the 404, only the left lane is open because of roadwork. So no access from Yonge and Bayview, and the right to Leslie and 404 also closed. Get the latest news affecting our community every night on City News at 6 and 11, only on City TV. Your next report at 1:31, and now with the forecast, here's Jason Fraser.
Well, right now, Christine, we're seeing plenty of sunshine across the GTA, and we're not expecting any major weather maker to move across our region today. And so we'll see plenty of sunshine. Later on tonight, we may end up seeing just a few clouds develop, and we'll see a low temperature right around 6 degrees. Now, tomorrow morning, we're going to start out with mostly cloudy skies, but we could end up seeing just a quick rain shower move across our region, up to 2 millimeters possible. Not very much, but we will likely also see the winds gusting up.
You hear a horn, it's either a car sitting at a green light,
high temperature tomorrow about 12 degrees, and then for Monday and Tuesday, the high temperature will also be right around 12 degrees. Keep in mind, the average high this time of year should be closer to 14, so we will be below normal for at least the next couple of days. Right now in Pearson, it's 11 degrees. The guaranteed high is 11 degrees.
Coming up at 1:30, a new announcement from Premier Doug Ford. A pandemic Payment is on the way for frontline workers, another $4 an hour above and over existing wages for the next 16 weeks. There's also a monthly lump sum. Over 350,000 employees across Ontario will qualify for the new pandemic payment. 680's Michelle Mackey will have the latest.
680 News Channel 123.
In times like these, shouldn't your money work even harder for you? We think so. That's why at Duca Credit Union, you get no-fee checking accounts. You also get high interest on deposits and investments and low mortgage rates. Plus, you get to share in the profits. That's the Duca difference. And now, get rates as low as 2.49% on a 5-year fixed mortgage when you switch to Duca. Find out how it...
No, I don't care. I'm just wondering what the fuck. They're hitting something up there so hard that it's vibrating the floor, but I can hear it coming from up there. I don't know what they do up there. I don't know who lives up there. Nothing. Yeah, you'd think I'd know everything going on around me. Nope, I have no idea who's up there. Hello, Mr. Federal Weather Person. Can we please hear the computer voice? Look at that color. Look at that color. Same as Tupac's phone. I got the Franco phone. The ET.
Welcome to Environment
home,
Canada's
home
Weather
phone.
Service. Bienvenue au service météorologique d'Environnement Canada. For service in English, press 1. For the City of Toronto, press 1. For York, press 2. For Dufferin, press 3. For the forecast for the next 7 days, press 1. The Environment Canada forecast issued at 11 a.m. Saturday, April 25th for today and Sunday. City of Toronto for today, sunny. Wind east 20 kilometers per hour. High 12, UV index 7 or high. For tonight, increasing cloudiness early this evening. Wind northeast 20 kilometers per hour. Low 7. For Sunday, cloudy with 30% chance of showers. Wind northeast 30 kilometers per hour, gusting to 50. High 12, UV index 4 or moderate. Extended forecast, Sunday night, cloudy periods. Low +5. For Monday, a mix of sun and cloud. High 13.
You to know that they remain ready to help you with any of your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs. Thank you for understanding as they take preventive
Welcome
measures
to Environment Canada's Weather Service.
priority.
Bienvenue au service
Roto-Rooter.com.
pour la ville de Toronto.
680 News Time 126. Time now, the 680 News Business Reports. I'm Richard Denman. Canada's largest credit union is offering loans at attractive terms to small businesses in British Columbia that are pivoting to fight the coronavirus. Van City President and CEO Tamara Vrooman has the details.
Up to $150,000 for 6 months, of which will be at zero interest, and the balance of the loan at prime +3 to allow the necessary capital to flow for things like moving to online, to
why not prime +1
models. Some are like manufacturing or moving into the health sector for much needed sanitary and health supplies.
And for self-employed people who have been in business more than 2 years, Vrooman also says there are bridge loans up to $10,000.
To help bridge cash flow, but also make key investments, maybe in setting up video conferencing capabilities, ability to connect with customers, clients, and business partners in ways that the pandemic no longer allows for self-employed people.
The money Van City is lending comes from a surge of members investing in a one-year term deposit with a 3% interest rate. Vrooman says it raised a little over $200 million in just under 6 weeks. But I asked her if this lending will affect the credit union's loan loss provisions.
We are very well capitalized and very liquid.
As a credit union, my bad. I thought we were talking about the government still.
Built up over the good times that we've experienced in our economy to be deployed exactly for times like this, the proverbial rainy day. And I think if ever there was a rainy day, this is it.
Van City also has a federally chartered
Hey, Royal
bank,
Bank, CIBC, sympatical
investors want the same 3% on deposits.
all the rest of you cocksuckers. How come you can't think like that with money?
Which performs exactly the same way to the markets outside of British Columbia, primarily in Ontario, for institutional investors.
And City President and CEO Tamara Vrooman. In the Business Center, I'm Richard Dedman.
Bank of Nova Scotia used to have a fucking huge presence in the Caribbean, and they shut it all down in the last 2 years. And Tangerine used to be ING Direct, which used to be a Dutch bank, and now it's just owned by Bank of Nova Scotia. It's very fucking weird up here. And then you hit mute, and it fucking won't cut off the fucking other side of the conversation.
Welcome to Environment Canada's Weather Service. Bienvenue au service météorologique d'Environnement Canada. For service in English. Pour la ville de Toronto, faites le 1. Pour la prévision publique pour les 7 prochains jours, faites le 1. Les observations horaires, faites le 2. Prévision émise par Environnement Canada à 11h le samedi 25 avril pour aujourd'hui et dimanche. Ville de Toronto pour aujourd'hui ensoleillé. Vent d'est de 20 km/h. Maximum 12. L'indice ultraviolet de 7 ou ici. Pour ce soir et cette nuit, ennuagement tôt ce soir. Vent du nord-est de 20 km/h. Minimum 7. Pour dimanche, nuageux avec 30% de probabilité d'averse. Vent du nord-est de 30 km/h avec rafale à 50, maximum 12, l'indice ultraviolet de 4 ou modéré. Prévision à long terme, dimanche soir, passage nuageux, minimum plus 5.
Irresponsible, reckless, and selfish.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford is announcing
so
a
quiet?
temporary
We just heard the
pandemic
English one
payment
nice
for
and clear.
healthcare workers battling
I did the exact same
COVID-19.
thing both times.
Prime Minister announces
If
a
you don't
national
mute the audio on
strategy is what will be
speakerphone,
used to guide our country back to normal
these
life as the
digital
federal
speakerphones,
government
these
commits
digital
financial
cordless
aid to
speakerphones will
Canadian
mute
fisheries.
one side of the conversation or the
Ramadan
other.
in the time of a pandemic.
This Ramadan is going to be very different.
Instead of nightly trips to the mosque and spending time with community, millions of Muslims around the world will spend the holy month physically distancing at home.
The 49ers add a Pro Bowler on day 3 of the NFL Draft. Sports at 45.
And coming up in business, pizza joints are working hard to get fresh pies to Canadians during the coronavirus
No, they're not.
pandemic. We'll hear from the
Domino's
owner
is
of
all
the Great
frozen.
Canadian Pizza Company on how you can benefit from
All the
placing an order.
independent places just shut down. They just closed one of the.
Time for traffic
You
and
want
weather
redundancy? We
together
got two
on
pizza
the
pizzas. They
Live.
just closed
Let's check in
one.
with Christine Lango.
This report is brought to you by
It's like two
TSC. On the
CIBCs,
eastbound
two,
401
two,
from
hey,
Weston
this
to
neighborhood
east
has
of the
two
400
everything.
in the
dog.
express, the two
And when
lane
there's
of
two,
Boston
sometimes there's
construction,
two of those and
and
there's
it's very
four.
heavy from approaching
You see
Pipeline
two sewers and then
West
two
into
more
the
out in the
express.
road.
The
You're like, what the
collectors are in
fuck? You
better
just
shape.
prepare for everything out there,
Northbound
right?
404 is also heavy going from approaching the 407 to north of Highway
This is
7.
two water valves
That
coming into one
stretch,
house.
The HOV lane as well as 3 left lanes are closed for construction, so you only have a single right lane and a piece of the ramp lane at your disposal.
We got,
On the
we
eastbound
got a hydro
407
vault
at
and we
Yonge
got
to the
hydro lines.
404,
What the
only the
fuck?
left lane is open here because of construction along this area.
Multiple
And the
phone
northbound Yonge
lines,
and
but
north
everything
and
is
southbound
fucking like that
Bayview
out here.
ramps to eastbound 407 are closed. Eastbound 407 ramps to Leslie and to the 404 are also shut. TNC's tech event is here. Shop exclusive today's showstopper offers from Apple, Bose, Beats, and more.
TSE.
Plus enjoy 12 easy pay payments on all
TSE.
electronics. Shop TSC.ca. Your next report is at
C.
1:41. And now
She
with the
said
forecast,
E the first
meteorologist
time.
Jason Fraser.
Right now, we're seeing mostly clear skies across the region, and for the most part, it is going to stay that way. Overnight, we'll see some clouds move in, and the temperature dip down to around 6 degrees. Right now at Pearson, we've reached the guaranteed high of 11 degrees.
We'll have another check of traffic and weather together in less than 10 minutes. 680 News Time, 1:32.
Happening now at Queen's Park, a group of protesters urging Ontario's government to lift the emergency order and end the shutdown.
Premier Doug Ford was asked about the protest today during.
You need us to go break up the protest. We're not Canadian Forces members. We can go do it legally.
Working around the clock
I won't hurt them.
to protect the community.
They don't know that, but I won't hurt them.
99% of the people in this province are working together, side by side. That's the reason we were able to see a flattening of the curve. But then, We have, a bunch of yahoos.
Jackasses, I was going to say.
Sitting there protesting that the place isn't open, as they're breaking the law and putting everyone in jeopardy.
Ford referred to the group of protesters.
Do you hear how his voice breaks sometimes? He's stressed. He is so fucking stressed right now. And you people doing dumb shit like it's funny. It ain't funny.
Has not broken any of the city's current social distancing bylaws.
I hope they lock you up with all them COVID-19 positive sex offenders. I hope they do.
Meantime, workers
Assholes like you already know. I already know that you assholes that showed up know, I won't have to pay the ticket because of this reason or that. I don't need a license, but I don't know my ass. You're not going to pay the ticket, are you? I hope they lock your ass up with all the B-Town sex offenders. I don't know if they're from B-Town. That's where they were locked up. Sex offenders with the COVID-19, but they just moved to the south. 140 of them or something. They got room for another 1,000 people in that shit. Keep talking and acting stupid.
It's my job to look out for them.
The increase will provide $4.
I've been waiting for them to come pick me up, put me in there, and they won't.
Of existing hourly wages, regardless of the qualified employee's hourly
That's where I got the
wage.
jump sheet.
In addition,
6 days in
employees working
segregation.
over 100 hours
Whatever
a month
the
would
fuck.
receive a lump
A few
sum
days in
payment
segregation.
of $250
No, because
a
you get
month
one night
for
in
each
the
of the next
station and
4 months. This means that eligible employees working an average of 40 hours a week will receive over $3,500 rather in additional compensation. Now, those eligible
36
receive
hours
the
in 3
payment
days,
include
doing
staff
12-hour
working in
shifts, right?
long-term care homes, retirement
Are we doing
homes,
12-hour shifts
emergency
now?
shelters, supportive
Everything?
housing, social services, congregate care settings,
Ito passed, I
correctional
think they said it was 3
institutions, and
8-hour
youth
shifts. Didn't they say
facilities,
that?
as well as those providing home and community
I might
care
be
in
wrong.
some staff hospitals. The announcement comes as 476 new cases of COVID-19 are confirmed today, representing a 3.5% increase for Ontario. The province is also reporting 48 more deaths resulting from the virus, bringing the total number past 800.
The air in the
And
south is
terms
so
of the
clean
number
that I
of
don't
recoveries,
drones for
that number
cigarettes.
has now
This
surpassed
is to help me compensate the
7,000.
fucking oxygen level in particular
I'm
matter.
Michelle Mackey.
The air in there is so clean. LEED Silver certified.
Still a ways off in our country, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says talks have started on how to reopen the economy and keep Canadians united. 6 Cities' Stuart McGinn has the latest.
The Prime Minister
Legalize
says the
weed.
premiers and the federal
Already
government
did that.
have come to an agreement to build a national strategy for opening
Make the
Canada's
gas
economy
cheap.
back up again.
Lower the price of electricity. Jesus, what more can you do? Give $4 an hour to all the emergency frontline personnel.
Across jurisdictions.
Justin Trudeau says the coordinated
Let it
approach
slide
backed
if
by
people's old hip
science
cards and
data
driver's
across
licenses
the
aren't up
country
to date.
will help avoid
What
any
else can you do?
confusion for Canadians, but he stressed the
Give the
importance
Uber
of this
drivers,
next phase
the
being
Uber Eats
approached
guys,
correctly, so we don't take
the
any
right
steps
to
back.
the ability to
Mark Trudeau
deliver
said he
alcohol
announced-
without the
he
smart
also
chip
announced
card.
more
Do that.
funding,
Yeah,
this
okay,
time
we're doing
going to
that.
Canadian fisheries. $62.5 million has
Give a
been
bunch of money
allocated
to the
the
guys
industry and
putting
its
fish in
processing plants
cans. Yep,
for
that's a good
personal
one.
protective equipment and
I
supplies
eat that.
as they adapt to new
You seen
protocols
me
and
eat that.
changing demand. Trudeau says they continue to play a key role in putting food on our tables.
And Dollarama
I'm Stuart
sells
McGinn.
it.
680 News Time, 1:36. The
Remember
Ontario
when I said,
government
please,
has
Mr.
extended
Ford,
the
make the
closure of all
Dollarama an
provincial
essential
parks until May
business?
31st. In a
And
statement
they ain't
issued
fucking
this
around in
morning,
there.
the
They're
federal government
operating
says
with
all
military
provincial parks
precision.
and
I feel
conservation
like I'm
reserves
walking
will
into a
continue to
store
remain
like I'm
fully closed.
requisitioning
Any
shit.
reservations made
Only
during
I don't have to
the
write nothing down. I
cancellation
just go,
period
I
will
need
be
one of these, one of these, one of these. Shoot,
Officials say they
It's
continue
very
to keep
simple.
the
It's
health of
like
Ontarians at the highest
beyond
priority.
military.
And while we're making progress to stop the spread of the virus, it hasn't yet been
Think about
fully
it. World War
contained.
II, you would have to fill out, you would have asked permission,
680
fill out a
News
piece of
at
paper. I need
1:37.
one of
Toronto's
these and one of
homeless
these.
population has
What's
seen
your
a surge in
service
cases.
number?
There
Blah,
are
blah,
at least
blah.
135 confirmed COVID-19 cases, most of which do
Sometimes
come from
dealing
a
with cash
single
currency
shelter
makes
that
things
houses
simpler.
refugees. On April 16th, the province changed its guidelines to allow mass testing of homeless shelters.
416.
Toronto Public Health says there are 88 residents currently at the Willowdale Welcome Center who have tested positive for the virus, and the majority of cases at the
I'm
shelter
so sorry you
are
came
mild
here and
or
got that, man. That
asymptomatic.
wasn't supposed to happen.
This
That's our
is
government.
680
Welcome to
News
how our
at
government now runs things.
1:37. City Councilor
We
Brad
let these staff
Bradford
do
more
whatever
than
they
12
want.
hours into a 24-hour bike marathon in support
You don't
of
even speak
staff
English
at
too
Michael
good, do you?
Garrett
You're trying to deal with
Hospitals
these
at 6
assholes. Yeah, I know.
o'clock
Just
yesterday
say it. Just
evening.
say
Cyclists
yes.
across
Very
Toronto have
good.
been participating in a virtual race to help raise money for staff
Yeah.
fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. The Crush COVID fundraiser has surpassed its
Well, Sean
$150,000 goal. It's raised more than $165,000. So far, the funds will go to purchasing protective equipment for the hospital, which also runs a COVID-19 assessment center. The event is being broadcast live on Facebook.
Keeping everyone home to fight the spread of COVID-19 has had an unattended consequence. Fire chiefs in Brampton, Vaughan, and Oshawa. So the number of reported fires has increased during the lockdown. Here in the city, Fire Chief Matthew Pegg says it's the same. They jumped up
of all the times to not have a fire.
Fatalities from fires as well in Toronto also up, with 7 confirmed deaths in 2020 compared to just 4 during the same period last year.
680 News
I'm
Time,
talking about open fire
1:38.
I know these assholes are doing that too.
These days, it should be easier for city
I'm
crews
talking
to
about
clean up the drive.
hobos and things keep their fires low, very low.
Illegal dumping cleanup, boulevard and laneway cleaning, litter and debris removal in parks, fence line litter clearing, and street sweeping in order to clean up dirt and debris from Toronto streets. And this is often, people have asked me, by the way, why we have the street sweepers out. And one of the answers to that is it clears away the debris that can block the drains. And when the rains come in April and May and on, this can cause flooding.
Tory says the city has not been looking its best following
Merci, monsieur.
City News is working for you, trying to get the answers you need about COVID-19. And as part of that, Mayor John Tory will be joining us tomorrow morning to answer your questions on the virus and how the city is responding. If you do have a question for the mayor, call the listener line at 416-872-6800, or send us a direct message on Twitter or Instagram, or head to 680news.com/answers. Again, the mayor live tomorrow, 11 in the morning, right here on 680 News.
The holy month of Ramadan is underway. It's the most important time of year on the calendar, but 680's Momin Qureshi explains because of the pandemic, it looks a lot different.
Most people know Ramadan is the time of year where Muslims fast from sunup to sundown from food and water. Yes, not even water. But it also usually involves nightly trips to the mosque and spending time with family and sharing meals with friends. Yusuf Badad is the Imam at the Islamic Foundation of Toronto, who says because of the global pandemic, everything has changed.
This Ramadan is
I think my friend gave me his last meal.
There is no congregation.
I didn't realize.
There's no socializing and coming together and enjoying the month together.
He says the
I'm sure he ate when he got home or something, but that was the last night.
Takes precedence right now, so everyone has to observe the holy month from a distance and stay home. But in 2020, there are still ways to stay connected.
We do have a great blessing of technology, and it's being used to connect with congregants and do service online.
Charity is another main tenet of Ramadan, so Badad is urging all Muslims to consider donating to frontline workers and causes in this pandemic. Ramadan.
Remember when the Muslims went and cleaned up for New Year's
Now, the
or whatever the fuck it was?
price update and predicts the price at the pump will not change at midnight. It will hold at 82.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations.
680 News Time, 140.
At Global Pet Foods, health and safety is the top priority. That's why we're taking extra precautions to keep customers, their pets, and our dedicated staff safe. Your pets are part of the family, so it's important that our proudly Canadian, locally owned stores are still open and fully stocked with pet foods, treats, toys, and more. For added safety, we've shifted to a curbside program for all our customers' needs. Find your local store today at globalpetfoods.com and call to place your order for pickup.
I'm David St. Jacques. As an astronaut, I know what it's like to be isolated, away from friends and family. It's hard, but it's what we all need to do for each other. Even if you're not feeling sick, you can still be infected with COVID-19 and pass it to others. Your actions can protect your loved ones. Stay home. Save lives. Visit canada.ca/coronavirus regularly for the latest instructions on how you can help stop this pandemic.
Ontario Supervision says they're standing by and ready to help with your recycling. Keep nature boys at 151. And now with the forecast, here's Jason
We're now at Pearson International, and we're seeing mostly sunny skies. For the rest of the afternoon, it's more down
I don't need the sunglasses anymore. I don't get the UV sensitivity anymore.
I do this for my SG, riding GC, don't keep right behind the scenes, just when I'm living on the jet. The rope stay down when it's sticky on my niggas, ready for me, I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. Shorty my dog for the night, cold up, it's like, I feel I never want to shit the head. Don't my nigga, never want to shit the head. Do this for my SG, riding GC, don't keep right behind the scenes, get behind me, sipping on the jet. The rope stay down when it's sticky on my niggas, ready with me, I be feeling trippy, blowing in the wind. Shorty wanna talk for the night, fall talk when it's like, I feel I never want to shit the head. For the dough, start like this. My nigga HS stay shot with the black and practice and stay sex with the world. Cause my closest niggas they move left. So I'm the post on block and protest. Now what's next? All I see is money in my vision. When y'all paint pictures when I'm spitting, me and them niggas different. We can never be the same. Niggas snitching, trying to blame it on niggas like what a shame. In the Gucci belt, niggas long back and my name is gon' hurt. When I'm 9 grades, connect to your brain and too soft to be better if you sit in your lane. In the put a dome, my niggas in the dome, put a dome. I got a pack of 4 things a nigga tryna stunt, then I lead him to the flow. You already know how I go. Anything goes for the dough. For the dough, my nigga, I'ma have to get it in. For the dough, I'm about to go and get it in. I do this for my SG, ride a GZ Loki right behind the scene, get it behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas riding with me. I be feeling trippy, flowing in the wind. Shorty wanna talk for the night, for a talk for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, my nigga. For the dough, my nigga. Never want this shit to end. Do this for my SG, ride a GZ Loki right behind the scene, get it behind me, sipping on the gin. Them hoes stay down when it's sticky, all my niggas riding with me. I be feeling trippy, flowing in the wind. Shorty wanna fuck for the night, pour a cup for this life. I feel I never want this shit to end. For the dough, I be taking bricks. I make a flip another stack all on my paper quick. Get 20 pack, they can tell me that I ain't the shit. I ain't the hustle for some niggas to be playing with. I spray the fifth and now my SG, nigga been a product for the last tunnel vision. Now I'm seeing getting money is my credit. My team stay that fuck niggas be competitive. I pour the top out and everybody gon' pay to say the word. Then my nigga yo ready to slide. I'm laid back with your hoe about to get up inside. I always been a real nigga and I never would hide. I used to work a 9 to 5, but it's better to grind. Getting high off the weed I smoke, I gotta keep the heat.
9 days, no symptoms. Okay, so I don't always go left to right, page 1 to page 10,000. Page 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. 309. Chapter 10. I assume that's chapter 10. Strange, fateful interlude. The fall of Blomberg, Fritsch, Neurath, and Schacht. Schacht? The decision to use armed force against Austria and Czechoslovakia, even if it involved Germany in a war with Great Britain and France, which Hitler laid down on November 5th, came as such a shock to his foreign minister that Baron von Neurath, easygoing, complacent, and morally weak though he was, suffered several heart attacks. There's a footnote, but I'm gonna have to look for it to read it. Quote, I was extremely upset at Hitler's speech, he later told the Nuremberg Tribunal, because it knocked the bottom out of the whole foreign policy which I had consistently pursued. Another footnote, number 2. In this frame of mind, and despite his heart attacks, he sought out General von Fritsch and General Beck, chief of the General Staff, 2 days later, and discussed with them what could be done, quote, to get Hitler to change his ideas, end quote. The impression on Beck of Hitler's harangue, according to Colonel Hosbach, who informed him of it, had been, quote unquote, shattering. It was agreed that Fritsch should again remonstrate with the Führer at their next appointment, pointing out to him the military considerations which made his plans inadvisable, while Neurath would follow up by again stressing to Hitler the political dangers.
Efforts are making a difference. Stay home. Stay strong. Save lives. Learn more at ontario.ca/coronavirus. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
680 News Time 147.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says after being relatively stable for days, the number of COVID-19 cases in the state have fallen a little bit.
It's down to about 1,100 new cases. Only in this crazy reality would 1,100 new cases be relatively good news, right?
New York is starting to test healthcare workers for coronavirus antibodies and will do the same next week with transit and law enforcement workers. Across New York City at 7 o'clock, people open their front doors and their windows. Some come outside, all to cheer on healthcare workers and cheer each other up, much like we do. It's become a bright spot there in an otherwise bleak time as well.
71-year-old Paul Stein stepped in Brooklyn home, decided to do the one thing he knew he could to contribute, play as a 40 on his front stoop.
It's very frustrating for me as a health and safety activist because I'm over 70 to sort of be confined to my house.
He got the idea from seeing others doing the same in communities that went through coronavirus lockdowns.
We are able to be physically apart while being very much together.
And neighbor Russell Langston loves it.
One more way of making New York City feel like a small town.
And that's what these neighborhoods really are. Julie Walker, New York.
U.S. President Donald Trump's comments about injecting disinfectant to fight the coronavirus is the latest in a long.
Okay, what else did he say? Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Mentioned some treatments for COVID-19 that do not follow established medical advice. Julian Salazar at Princeton University
Drink
says
water, eat fruit,
usually
stay close
stick
to a
the
toilet,
facts.
and stay home.
The best presidents in times of crisis have been realistic about the risks people face and the dangers we face. And within that, they've tried to find a path forward, a realistic one, and one that gives people confidence.
Trump has previously suggested climate change is a hoax. He says wind turbines cause cancer. Blue Jays Saturday Marathon.
The electronics they put in the mic, they don't need electronics. It's not the wind.
Simon Bennett has your sports.
That's why I don't listen to you
As the
people.
Rogers Center always packed for Canada Day. How many of you went
Afro
to the
Dutch,
Canada
we've been
Day
using
game
windmills
against
for a
Cleveland in
long time.
2016? How many of you stayed to the end? Be honest now.
The 19-inning marathon is over. Look at the exhaustion for Mike Napoli and the other Indians.
The Indians, no. Oh, I missed that earlier. It's the Indians. No, there was no tying. It was one or the other. We're gonna go until one of us drops. The political dangers. As for Beck, he immediately committed to paper a devastating critique of Hitler's plans, which apparently he showed to no one. The first sign of a fatal flaw in the mind and character of this estimable general, who at first had welcomed the advent of Nazism and who, in the end, would give his life in an abortive effort to destroy it. General von Fritsch saw Hitler on November 9th. There is no record of their talk, but it may be presumed that the commander-in-chief of the army repeated his military arguments against Hitler's plans and that he got nowhere. The Führer was in no mood to brook opposition either from the generals or from his foreign minister. He refused to receive Neurath and took off for a long rest at his mountain retreat at Berchtesgaden. It was not until the middle of January that the stricken Neurath was able to arrange an appointment with the leader. On that occasion, I tried to show him, Neurath later testified at Nuremberg, that his policy would lead to a world war and that I would have no part in it. I called his attention to the danger of war and to the serious warnings of the generals. When, despite all my arguments, he still held to his opinions, I told him that he would have to find another foreign minister. Footnote 3. Though Neurath did not then know it, that was precisely what Hitler had decided to do. In a fortnight, he would celebrate the 5th anniversary of his coming to power, and he intended to mark it by cleaning house not only in the Foreign Office, but in the army. Those two citadels of upper-class reaction, which he secretly distrusted, which he felt had never completely accepted him, nor really understood his aims, and which, as Blomberg, Fritsch, and Neurath had shown on the evening of November 5th, stood in the way of realizing his ambitions. The last two gentlemen in particular, and perhaps even the accommodating Blomberg, to whom he owed so much, would have to follow the inimitable Dr. Schatz into retirement. For the crafty financier, the early enthusiast for Nazism and backer of Hitler had already fallen.
Degrees, and right now at Pearson it's only 11 degrees. Overnight we're going to dip down to a low temperature of about 6 degrees and see partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow there is a slight chance at seeing some rain. We're not really talking about much, up to about 2 millimeters possible, but the winds will continue to gust up to about 50 kilometers per hour, and we'll see a high temperature of about 12 degrees for Monday and Tuesday. A mix of sun and clouds on both days with a high of about 12 degrees. And then for Wednesday, that's when our next weather maker is going to come through and give us some more rain showers, and we'll see a high temperature then of plus 10 degrees. The guaranteed high today is 11 degrees.
680 news time, 1:53.
This extended forecast is brought to you by Dynamic Funds. Research shows that investors who work with an advisor accumulate 3.9 times more assets than those who don't. Advice matters, now more than ever. Learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
At this difficult time, New Life Fertility Center wishes you good health and safety and thanks the government for helping lift the financial burden. It's been hard, but from this hardship will come new life. And when you start yours, consider partnering with New Life Fertility. Don't worry about the cost because New Life also stands by you financially with the guaranteed lowest IVF cost, just $7,900 and the highest success rate. Terms and conditions apply. NewLifeFertility.com.
You're listening to 680 News.
680 News Time 154. In the absence of the NBA and NHL games, what better use for our city's sports mascots than charity work? The Toronto Raptor and the Maple Leafs mascot Carlton the Bear may not be working in arenas anymore, but they have been kept busy by spreading cheer in hospitals across the city. On Friday, the mascots were at Centenary Hospital with Premier Doug Ford and Mayor John Tory handing out meals to frontline workers with the Scarborough Health Network. The Scotiabank Kitchen is now Toronto's largest kitchen, preparing up to 10,000 meals a day.
I'm sweating at 11
About 60
degrees.
seconds, we'll check in at the Business Center with Carl Garnish.
680 News Time 155.
Getting you where you need to go faster. The most traffic in Toronto. 680 News.
David Jones here from Hire the Gardener. Yes, we're still open during COVID-19. The Gardener has put extreme measures in place to keep you and our staff safe and are only providing contactless essential services. Just watch and wave to us through the window. With that in mind, help us honor a hero. Visit hirethegardener.com and nominate a frontline worker who could win free service this season. Help us thank the people keeping us safe. Visit hirethegardener.com.
In times like these, shouldn't your money work even harder for you? We think so. That's why at Duca Credit Union, you get no-fee checking accounts. You also get high interest on deposits and investments and low mortgage rates. Plus, you get to share in the profits. That's the Duca difference. And now, get rates as low as 2.49% on a 5-year fixed mortgage when you switch to Duca. Find out how at mortgage.duca.com. Do more. Be more.
These are not recyclable.
With Duca Credit
Please throw them in the litter
Conditions
garbage
apply.
section of the garbage can. These are not recyclable. They're burnable.
Now, time for your business report.
I'm Carl Garnish. Even though Canadians are being told to stay at home during the coronavirus pandemic, we are being called to rally behind local small business whenever possible. And that's been a reality for one company that's a part of the 680 News Operation Support Local initiative. Family owned and operated for 35 years, the Great Canadian Pizza Company continues to serve up pizza in Port Credit. Margaret Taggart, owner and proprietor of the Great Canadian Pizza Company, says people have been great at showing their support by placing takeout and delivery orders. She adds that it's an opportunity for people to take a break from having to be a round-the-clock chef.
Majority of us don't normally make 3 meals a day on a regular basis, when life was kids in school or hockey or sports or running around. So I think that's where small restaurants and takeout are benefiting a bit because people don't want to cook the 3 meals every day, 7 days a week. They want a break.
To help get the fresh pies to Canadians, Taggart appreciates the support she's received from delivery companies such as Uber Eats.
Look at this shit. Why wear the fucking, he's gonna wear the bandanas for no reason.
The service isn't great and the food isn't, delivered in a timely fashion to the door. So at this particular time, they've been actually very good for my business.
And as Canada recently marked its first takeout day, with
still bright on the
being
inside.
encouraged
It's
to
only
order takeout
filthy
on
on the
Wednesdays to
outside.
support restaurants, Taggart says it gets the ball rolling, but we can do more.
Every night should be takeout because everyone, eat out just on the weekends.
Every
some people
night.
it's been a regular thing. So I think to start the initiative,
Go with that hustle. Run with that
hustle.
hustle. You with it. You gangster with it. Every night should be takeout. Coffee time is anytime. I like it. Every night should be takeout. Go home, stay home. Every night should be takeout.
Margaret Taggart is the owner and
Yeah,
proprietor
you're not
of the
eating
Great
at the restaurant.
Canadian
You're
Pizza
going back
Company,
home.
which is part of 680's Operation Support Local, brought to you by Scotiabank. To join Operation Support
Baggy
Local
this
and for
shit.
more information, visit 680news.com/supportlocal. At the Business Center, I'm Carl Garnish.
Hi, it's Tony Chow, host of the podcast How Does It Matters. Thanks to the incredible support of RBC, we're focusing on the heart of the Canadian economy, small businesses. Paul Ambrose,
So you now heard. So every fucking time I say I'm gonna go do this, do that, because I think this is what's gonna be important. I actually see it comes up, don't I? I said this COVID thing gonna be big in December when they said the Canadian Public Health Authority, the Public Health Agency of Canada, was physically present in Wuhan, I told you this was going to be big.
Thanks again to RBC, and download Chatter That Matters wherever you get your podcasts.
I said about the street sweepers weren't out, but they didn't mention that.
They remain ready to help you with any of your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs.
Talk about the storm drains getting filled, clogged up is what's going to cause flooding, but I can't do the whole thing. The street sweepers got to do it. All the shit I kick to the side is just going to run back in the drain sooner or later.
At Walmart,
Which will fill up the catch base. One way or another, you got
to our
to get it out of
associates
there.
remains the same. We've reduced store hours, added in-store safety measures, and increased the hourly wage.
In Oakville, it is 10 degrees, a few clouds in the sky. Milton, 12 degrees, a few clouds. Orangeville, 11 degrees and clear. Erin, 12 degrees and clear. In Brampton, 11 degrees, a few clouds in the sky. It's 13 degrees in Richmond Hill with some sunshine, 12 in Pickering and sunny in Oshawa, and 12 degrees. Downtown Toronto, 10 degrees, a few clouds in the sky, 11 at Pearson. 6:80 news time, 2 o'clock.
About 7.5 seconds.
Traffic, bad weather. This is 680 News, Toronto.
Here are Cam Dorrit and Caitlin Lee.
Good afternoon. This is Saturday, the 25th of April.
Here's what's making news this
These
hour.
are not cut perfectly square, and they take a stretch when you wrap them around something
provincial
round like a
government to
skull.
lift the emergency order and end the COVID-19 shutdown.
The Premier also announced more help for frontline workers.
We need
Over 350,000
Army
employees across
bandanas
the province now eligible for
by
pay
using more
increase.
oxen.
A coordinated national strategy backed
Well, you
by
just
science.
need- you
That's
just-
what Canada says is being built to help
You'll
see our
figure it
country
out.
through
It's
the
like making a
COVID-19
t-shirt.
pandemic. Ramadan is upon us, but this year will be very different. It is very challenging. Instead of spending time with the community and nightly trips to the mosque, millions of Muslims will mark the month physically distancing at home. The 49ers make a big trade on day 3 of the NFL draft. Sports at 15.
And coming up in business, a Toronto snack delivery service switches gears after being hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. 680 news time, 201.
Traffic and weather, schedule on the Here's Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by GP Bikes. We have a collision, first of its kind this afternoon, westbound Gardner, west of Strom. The right lane is blocked. It looks like a tow has arrived on scene. So right now, westbound Gardner is jammed from approaching Spadina to west
Be
of Strom.
very
where
careful
this
not to
problem
hit your
is.
eye with
Another
that.
slowdown is on the northbound Don Valley Parkway, or actually the northbound 404, so the extension of the Don Valley Parkway, from approaching the 407 to north of Highway 7, where we first have the HOV lane blocked, and then the 3 left lanes are blocked along that stretch. And on the eastbound 401 from Weston to east of the 400 in the express, there's also construction here blocking 2 left lanes, and as a result, it's quite slow from approaching Kipling over to Weston in the express. Stay with the collectors, they're your better bet. On the eastbound 407 at Yonge to the 404, it looks like the 5 left lanes are blocked, so only the left lane is open. You're going to find the ramps from Yonge and from Bayview to the eastbound 407 closed, and they've also closed the eastbound 407 ramps to Leslie and to the 404, and westbound 401, the ramp from northbound Allen is closed for long-term construction. It's GP Bikes no HST sale, plus up to 60% off. Open online and by phone for easy curbside pickup. Get your new motorcycle with finance rates as low as 0%. GPBikes.com, your power sports authority. Your next report is at 2:11.
That's just a
And now
fucking
with the
written
forecast,
test,
here's
eh?
Jason Fraser.
Right now, we're seeing mostly clear skies across the GTA. Not expecting any rain showers for the rest of today. Some of us might see just
When
a
you
few
get the
clouds
full M
later on
license, it's
tonight,
the equivalent of a
but not
G1.
expecting any rain showers. Right now, it's 11 degrees at Pearson.
99 miles per gallon now. CBR 125R. Damn, they don't bring it in right now.
Happening now, dozens of protesters have taken advantage of the nice weather to show up at Queen's Park, demanding the province opens back up for business.
680's Michelle Mackey has the latest on this story, including some strong words from the Premier. She joins us live. Michelle.
Yeah, Caitlin, a small group of protesters have made their way to Queen's Park, urging Ontario's government to lift the emergency order and end the shutdown. Signs reading, "Get things back on track," and "I want a haircut" are being held. Premier Doug Ford was asked about the protest today during his briefing and, well, as you'll hear, was far from impressed. All right, we'll try and get that clip next time. Ford referred to the group of protesters as selfish, saying the government is working hard to open the economy as soon as possible. 680 News has reached out to Toronto police, who say the protest has not broken any of the city's current social distancing bylaws. Stay with 680 News for more on this developing story.
Yeah, send the cops in to bust them up, right? But they legally can't. Do you see what the fuck is going on in this fucking place?
Also this afternoon in wages for healthcare workers for the next 4 months. Ford says nurses, personal support workers, cleaners, correctional service officers, and many others will earn an extra $4 per hour. Ford says it's needed to maintain staffing levels in busy long-term care homes and hospitals.
For those looking after COVID-19 patients, for those working in our long-term care homes, for those caring for our most vulnerable, and for those working in close quarters, maintaining order in our correctional facilities, for these heroes,
that would be us, Mr. Ford.
Getting back in the fight.
No, that would be us, Mr.
Back
Ford.
to the front lines comes at a great price.
An average worker putting in at least 40 hours a week would earn an increase of roughly $3,500 more over the next 4 months.
680 News Time 2:05. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has a national strategy to get Canada back to business as usual. 680 Stuart McGinn reports.
This is Canada's plan forward.
We need a coordinated approach nationally to avoid any confusion amongst Canadians. We're working together on a plan based on science, data, and expert advice that lays out our common ambition to see our country through this.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says it's crucial the strategy is in place nationwide to avoid any confusion for Canadians. But that doesn't mean it'll all be the same, with every province leading the charge in their own respective situations, seeing as they're being affected by this pandemic so differently. As the federal government looks forward, they also announced today $62.5 million in funding for Canadian fisheries, a market Trudeau says plays an essential role in putting food on our tables and needs help with personal protective equipment and adapting to a shift in demand during this pandemic.
Required to identify myself under the current emergency
government has
order.
extended the closure of all provincial parks until May 31st. Health Minister Christine Elliott says
break all the laws all the time.
this extension may
That's
impact
simple.
many Ontarians' plans during the month of May, but the health and well-being of Ontarians is our government's #1 priority. This includes car camping, backcountry camping, roofed accommodations, day use opportunities, access points, and all public
Explain this
buildings.
one. There's a dead bed bug in the fucking bag.
Extension will be automatically canceled and reservation
How the
holders
fuck is that
will receive
possible?
a full refund with no penalty.
After the coronavirus forced Service Canada to close centers across the country, many reported long wait times as millions called to access government services they needed due to the pandemic. But now a government department notoriously slow to embrace the digital age appears to be turning to online solutions to deal with the backlog. Service Canada says it's added a new online platform to speed up response times. The tool includes a request form for someone to call you back and a virtual assistant that will chat with you and begin COVID-19 related requests. You can visit the Service Canada website for more details.
After physical distancing measures and a virtual shutdown of the economy, the question now across Canada is when will things go back to normal? Speaking today, Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Theresa Tam noted the efforts of several Canadian scientists working hard to do just that.
With the COVID-19 pandemic still in high force, there is an urgent need for this accelerated process, focused on delivering a safe and effective vaccine. And the world is responding in equal force, with 20 institutions and companies working on expedited vaccine development, while over 70 countries are working collectively to accelerate research on treatments.
Tam adds when it does come to relaxing social restrictions and easing back into a functional economy, she and her counterparts are looking at some of the epidemic criteria for consideration.
It will be another weekend of bylaw enforcement officers and police patrolling Toronto parks to make sure we're all keeping physically distant from each other. Mayor John Tory's work is also underway to figure out the best way to handle problem areas.
We're working with Toronto Public Health. They've been very much involved in this and with our Transportation Services Department.
Fence rentals. Fence rentals.
Where there are lineups
Swear to
or
God.
pitch points
I don't know
on
how else.
sidewalks that need to be addressed. And we will
Keeps
roll
me
out a
up.
plan early next week to address that.
Hey, if there's a
Tory
fence,
says
I'm
we're
not
all
climbing
anxious
it.
right now and trying very hard to engage in physical distancing. So he's asking people to be kind and considerate to each other.
This is 680 News. We have breaking news from the RCMP. Officers say they're dealing with a possible active shooter situation in Nunavut. The RCMP says it's responding to a, quote, dynamic situation unfolding in Cape Dorset. Mounties say they received reports of a possible gunshot believed to be from a man. Police are urging residents to stay inside their homes and steer clear of the 1000 block area. There are no reports this time of any injuries.
You're listening to 680 News at 2:09. Millions of Muslims around the world are now marking the month of Ramadan, the most important time of the year on the Islamic calendar. But as 680's Momin Qureshi reports, because of the global pandemic, this year will be very different.
Normally, Ramadan is marked with nightly trips to the mosque, sharing meals with family and friends, and spending time with the community. But Yusuf Badad, the Imam at the Islamic Foundation of Toronto, says because of the pandemic, this Ramadan will be very different.
We've been encouraging everybody, this is for our own good. And the Islamic principle of preservation of life takes precedence. To curb the virus and to flatten the curve, we had to put this in place.
Badad says most mosques are taking advantage of technology, providing sermons and
preservation of life.
He says charity is a staple of Ramadan and is urging all Muslims to help those in need during this pandemic.
Whether it's hospitals or whether it's to purchase apparatus for these frontline workers, the charity should be channeled towards there, at least some portions of it.
Ramadan Mubarak to you all. I'm Momin Qureshi.
680 News Time 210.
Trust 680 News for what you need to know on the coronavirus.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day on your radio.
680news.com.
The Radio Player Canada app.
Or ask to play 680 News on your smart speaker.
Now the 680 News gas price update. And Pro predicts the price at the pump will not change at midnight, holding at 82.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations. In 60 seconds, traffic and weather together on the ones.
This is 680 News.
Local businesses make our city great.
That's why 680 News has partnered with Scotiabank in Operation Support Local.
Hi, it's Steve Roberts. By supporting local, you can help keep the places you love open. From shopping online to signing up for online classes or even ordering takeout, it all starts with you.
To submit or find a local business to support, visit 680news.com/support local. Operation Support Local.
In partnership with our friends, Scotiabank. We're in this together. At Global Pet Foods, health and safety is a top priority. That's why we're taking extra precautions to keep customers, their pets, and our dedicated staff safe. Your pets are part of the family, so it's important that our proudly Canadian, locally owned stores are still open and fully stocked with pet foods, treats, toys, and more. For added safety, we've shifted to a curbside program for all our customers' needs. Find your local store today at globalpetfoods.com and call to place your order for pickup.
680 News Time 2:11.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones with a look at the roads. Here's Christine Langos.
Thank you, Cam. This report is brought to you by Serpa Motorsports, and I'm just looking at a collision on the westbound Gardner west of Strawn. The right lane is blocked. A tow truck is on scene, and it's jamming things up from York to west of Strawn. Past that, it does open up nicely.
See how standardized everything is?
404 from the 407 to north of Highway 7. The HOV lane and 3 left lanes are blocked because of construction. There's a slowdown from approaching the 407, but it looks like they may be clearing up some of these lanes shortly. I'm just looking at some crews leaving the area. We'll let you know when it does reopen. Eastbound 401 from Weston to east of the 400 Express. 2 left lanes are closed for repairs, and there's a delay from approaching Kipling. On the eastbound 407 from Yonge to the 404, only the left lane is getting through this area because of road work. We have the northbound Yonge and Bayview ramps to eastbound 407, as well as the eastbound 407 ramp to Leslie and 404. Those ramps are closed as well. And lastly, the northbound Allen ramp to westbound 401 is closed for long-term construction. Suzuki Riders Serpa Motorsports Yonge Street Aurora features a full model lineup in their exclusive one-price online store. Call Serpa Motorsports now and experience 100% white glove service. Your next report is at 2:21. Now with the forecast, here's Jason Fraser.
Right now, we're seeing lots of sunshine in around the GTA, and the blue skies are going to be sticking around for at least the next couple of hours. It should be a beautiful sunset tonight, right around 8:13 tonight. Now, speaking of tonight, we should see partly cloudy skies and a low temperature right around 6 degrees. And for tomorrow, we're going to start out with mostly cloudy skies and can't rule out the possibility of an afternoon rain shower. High temperature tomorrow of 12 degrees, and just be careful of those winds gusting up to about 50 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow night, the rain ends, and we'll see cloudy skies and a low temperature right around 6 degrees. 11 degrees right now in Pearson, the guaranteed high, 11 degrees.
680 News Time 213.
Running is growing in popularity with gyms closed because of COVID-19. If you're new to the activity, 680's Irene Putcliffe is getting some tips.
John Stanton is the founder of The Running Room with locations across Canada. He says your running routine needs to be gentle yet progressive.
Start with brisk walking and then start with jogging, and then combinations of walking and running is the best way to do that.
For beginners, he suggests starting with 1 minute of each, gradually working up to 10 minutes of running and 1 minute of walking. And while you don't need a lot of equipment, Stanton says the right shoe is key. And even though
Jim thinks the right shoe. What about the left shoe?
The right pair.
We have a free service at runningroom.com where people can go in and they can get a gait analysis, and it's all done through Zoom.
Stanton says it's important to listen to your body, and if you feel pain, stop running. I'm Irene Precklett.
Really?
News Time 214.
Hey, if I feel pain, that's when I take off running, eh?
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate online at carsforkids.ca. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll benefit a child and get a maximum tax credit.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Also accepting boats, motorcycles, RVs, and truck donations.
Here's the top 10 reasons to get 10 Timbits free. They're fun, awesome, tasty, shareable, delicious, snackable, craveable, dippable, delectable, and free. Spend $10, get 10 Timbits free. Offer on qualifying purchases of $10 before taxes at participating restaurants for a limited time. Not valid for delivery.
Regals everywhere.
11 degrees, plenty of sunshine. Good afternoon from the 680 News Broadcast Center in downtown Toronto. I'm Cam Dorrit.
And I'm Caitlin Lee. Here are the top stories this hour.
Happening now, a protest to reopen the economy. Dozens of the disgruntled have shown up at Queen's Park with signs like, "I need a haircut." The premier calls the group yahoos and their actions selfish. Meanwhile, with 476 new cases of COVID-19 today and 48 new deaths, Doug Ford is announcing more help for frontline workers. Over 350,000 eligible staff in the province now can apply for a $4 an hour pay increase. And coming up after sports, hashtag Kim Jong-un dead is trending on Twitter, but North Korea says any reports about its leader are completely false. 680 News Time 215.
Yeah, all reports about him always false. We know.
Sports, and from Sportsnet 590 The Fan, here's George Russick.
Washington has agreed to send Pro Bowl left tackle Trent Williams to the 49ers in exchange for a 5th-round pick this year and a 3rd-round pick next year. Williams sat out the entire 2019 season due to a contract dispute. The NFL will hold rounds 4 to 7 today. A pair of Canadians were picked last night. Abbotsford, BC's Chase Claypool, a wide receiver from Notre Dame, went to the Steelers in the 2nd round, while Ottawa's Neville Gallimore, a defensive lineman from Oklahoma, was drafted in the 3rd round by the Cowboys. An NBA G League player proposed today to determine whether they form a union. According to ESPN,
he has to play for them.
The Players Association will assist in the formation of the union,
for the
with
war.
at least 50% of the G League players needing to vote in favor of the motion in order for it to pass. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
680 News Time 217.
The early bird deadline in the Princess Margaret Home Lottery is in 6 days. Don't miss our world-famous $1.5 million early bird prize. A stunning Kawartha lakefront cottage built by Linwood with over 3,000 square feet of luxury. It comes fully furnished, complete with dock.
Later.
This could be yours, along with $30,000 cash. Don't wait. The early bird deadline is in 6 days. Tickets at PrincessMargaretLotto.com.
The numbers are staggering. In Canada, on average, 2 employees are killed every day in work-related incidents. Many more are injured or become sick from hazardous substances. UA Local 853 Sprinkler Fitters of Ontario points out that April 28th is International Day of Mourning, a day to remember those killed or injured. On April 28th, let's pause to remember those lost or hurt while working and commit to a safer workplace. A message from the membership of UA Local 853 Sprinkler Fitters of Ontario. Visit ualocal853.org.
680 News Time 218. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says his state's lockdown has been difficult but effective.
Governor Andrew Cuomo says New York is not out of the woods yet. In the last day, deaths ticked up to 437, but new hospitalizations were down.
Only in this crazy reality would 1,100 new cases be relatively good news, right?
He says the 56-day lockdown has been important, though, and he says through the difficulty, New Yorkers have helped avoid 100,000 serious infections. Mark Remillard, ABC News, New York.
This is 680 News. The European Union is planning a major budget conference early next month to help fill the World Health Organization's funding gaps, and it expects Canada to help out.
Brice de Schutter, the EU's acting ambassador to Canada, says the event was being planned before last week's announcement by U.S. President Donald Trump that he would pause WHO funding because of concerns it had mismanaged the early outbreak of the novel coronavirus. De Schutter says no one wants to politicize the May 4th event, but the effort to find a vaccine and fund the research needed to end the global pandemic means raising money to help the UN agency is more important than ever. He says the Canada-EU trade deal will play a key role in helping the post-pandemic economic recovery, as well as keeping essential medical supply chains open. Maury Paris, The Canadian Press.
The head of the Korean Friendship Association now refuting reports that Kim Jong-un is gravely ill. In a statement on Twitter, he said, quote, "Information about the serious state of health of our Marshal Kim Jong-un is false and malicious. Kim has been reported to be in critical condition after undergoing heart surgery." U.S. officials said Monday they were told Kim's condition was critical after the operation, though they were unsure of his current health. Kim is not being seen since he reportedly visited a military unit on April 12th, raising speculation about his condition. Brazil is quickly becoming one of the world's COVID-19 hotspots.
Cases of the new coronavirus are overwhelming.
Good. You burn down the rainforest. Good.
Latin America's
Good.
largest
That's what you
nation.
get for burning down the
Medical officials in
rainforest.
major cities have warned their hospital systems are on the verge of collapse.
Good.
The number of infections in Brazil is expected to be much higher than reports because of insufficient testing. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro continues to insist that COVID-19 is a relatively minor disease, echoing his ally, President Donald Trump. Unlike Bolsonaro, however, Trump has moderated his skepticism about the virus. I'm Sarah Bassett.
680 News Time, 2:20 on Monday. Over 200 beer stores will be allowing customers to return their empties.
When Glenn Howard isn't smashing the rocks together at the curling rink, he's managing a beer store and helping with their public relations. He says as the beer store is still maintaining social distancing, they're asking customers to limit empty returns to 1 cart per person. And if you feel like you have more than a cart, you can contact one of the 7 distribution centers across the province.
You can get a hold of them. They will take empties at any time. If there's massive amounts, we can pick them up.
And every Sunday from 9 to 3, distribution centers are set up as a drive-through system.
All the empties will be taken off your hands, so to speak. You don't even have to get out of your vehicle. There's a no-touch system in place.
I'm Tim Hurd.
680 News Time, 2:21. And stop the traffic and weather together on the one. Here's Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by Mazda of Toronto. There's still a collision on the westbound Gardner west of Strawn. The right lane is blocked off. The tow is on scene. Hopefully it'll be cleared out of here shortly. In the meantime, it's slow on the westbound Gardner from approaching Spadina to west of Strawn.